educators, and change makers from across the globe. I welcome you to the International Coaching Conclave 2025, a platform where purpose meets potential and insight transforms into impact. I'm your host for the day, and I'm thrilled to guide you through this empowering journey of learning, collaboration, and transformation. Today, we gather not only to celebrate the growing community of certified and aspiring coaches, but also to align with the global vision, a future where coaching is central to human development and workplace evolution. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, warm hearted coaches, and champions of change, welcome to this International Coaching Week 2025, where wisdom meets wonder and conversations spark transformation. Tonight, it isn't just an event, it's a celebration of the minds and hearts that move the world forward, one powerful question at a time. And now, to informally and officially to inaugurate the evening, we have a man who wears his heart on his sleeve and his wisdom in every word. With this, may I please call upon Dr. G.P. Rao, sir, founder of Good People Relations, the motivator, the insight holder. Can we please have you on stage, sir?
Namaste. Namaste. I know in the morning I go to a forum where they say good morning, and the same people, when they meet us in the evening also, they say good morning. That's their culture, or this belief, and they feel that we're a global organization. Somebody or the other, a colleague may be living in Europe or USA, for him it may be morning. That's what they do, good morning. I do namaste, knowing very well that half the people don't reciprocate. But then I have no grievance, no complaint whatsoever. Even if one person replies to me, I have made my day. I will try once again, namaste. Namaste. So let me first introduce Jyoti Kukreja, the anchor, just because she came late. She was a little nervous, and she forgot to introduce herself. Her name is Professor Jyoti Kukreja, and she's a wonderful teacher. She's doing a great job in the business school she works, and I have seen her doing anchoring of different subjects. So quickly she gets into the subject and she speaks. So I was asking Gaurav, what is this slot about, my slot? He said, welcome address. I said, 10 minutes? I mean, how can you speak for 10 minutes in welcoming people? Then I asked the anchor, so what do you think I will be doing in 10 minutes? She said, you give opening address. Okay, I will give an opening address. I was preparing for opening address. Suddenly said, somebody will inaugurate. So this is what happens in life. The expectations from us change. Gaurav's expectations were different. The expectation that was conveyed to me by the anchor was different. And finally, the expectation that was announced is different. So this is the dilemma all of us will face. So instead of doing a formal welcome, which she has already done, I would rather spend time in knowing people. Unless you know, where do you get this opportunity to like them? Unless you know, how do you like them? Unless you like, how do you start admire them? Unless we admire them, how do you trust them? So I would like to get into some stage somewhere, all the people whom I met today. So I become a trustworthy colleague or a friend or somebody who have met you. So the first thing I thought was knowing. So I was wondering who knows everybody. Maybe Talis, maybe Gaurav. So, but somebody said no. Why not we get an opportunity that let's know one another today in lieu of the welcome address. So I'll start with myself. My name is G.P. Rao. I have retired 11 years ago. I spend my time on spirituality, community service, and knowledge exchange. That's what I do. You can start. You want a mic or something, or no? Small gathering.
For Clove Dental.
Cloud Dental. Very good.
Thanks.
Wonderful.
Hi, good evening, and of course, namaste everyone. My name is Pallavi, and I work with CBRE. I head People Business Vertical for CBRE India, Bangladesh, and Sri Lanka. Happy to be here. Thank you.
You can pass on the mic. Yeah.
Hi, my name is Karan Sehgal. I've worked in professional services for close to 2 decades, and now I'm a full-time independent coach and facilitator. Happy to be here, happy to meet all of you.
Thank you. Thank you, knowing Karan.
Thank you so much, Karan. I'm Nidhi Agarwal. I'm a life and leadership coach, thanks to Gaurav and Erickson. That's where I started my formal coaching journey. And of course, now part of ZS as a leader for India coaching team. Thank you.
Thank you, Nidhi.
Hi, good evening. I'm Neha Arur. I lead HR for ZS Associates India. Thank you.
Right, good evening, namaste. My name is Anupam Arun. I'm a father to 2 wonderful daughters, and I'm very passionate about dogs and animals generally. On the side, I'm also the country head for a software company in India called Cvent. So that's who I am. I look forward to knowing all of you well. Thank you.
Sir. Welcome.
I am Vivek Shrivastava. I am currently the Director General for Fire Services, Civil Defense, and the Home Guards under the Ministry of Home Affairs.
Wonderful, sir.
Good evening. I'm Dr. Neeraj Sandoja. I'm an ophthalmologist, retina specialist. I've got my own practice in name of Vian Eye and Retina Center in Gurgaon, and I'm a consultant to Fortis Memorial Research Institute.
Great, sir. Doctor, sir.
Hi, good evening. Namaste. My name is Bhushan Kulkarni. Monday to Friday, I head the capability building, leadership, and OD for ICSI Lombard, based out of Mumbai. Saturdays, largely, I coach and I write. I just completed a book about to release next week. And yeah, that's what I do. I've just cleared my PCC, so 650 hours under the belt and
Wonderful.
Cleared the exam.
Nice meeting you, Bhushanji. Nice meeting.
Namaste, Mr. Rao and everyone. My name is Jaskaran Tukral. I'm also into my spiritual journey and community works. But as a professional, I'm a risk manager at an investment bank, Macquarie Group.
Wonderful, sir.
Namaste, everyone. My name is Praveen Chandola. I have around 2 decades of HR experience. Right now, I'm exploring journey of independent coach, trainer, and facilitator with the blessing of our gurus here. Thank you.
Thank you, Praveen.
Good afternoon. My name is Arindam Lahiri. I work with Jindal Stainless as part of their talent management vertical. I've been working in HR for 20-25 years now. My passion is about learning, training, coaching. That's what
Thank you, Arindam.
Thank you.
Pranam, sir.
Pranam.
Pranam to everyone, and my name is Varinder Verma. So I carry with me a 36 years experience, and currently I'm a peoplepreneur. I've recently started my enterprise with the name of Peopleverse, and I'm a peoplepreneur, and I'm into elixir coaching and people transformation. Thank you so much.
Wonderful. Thank you, Vivi.
Hi, sir. My name is Kumar Nikhil. I worked with corporates for 13 years before I took a plunge into litigation practice. So I'm a practicing advocate now, practicing for the past 2.5 years now.
You see the composition today. We have from the fire service, we have doctor, we have from the litigation. Wonderful. Thank you, Gaurav, getting these diverse professionals.
Namaskar, my name is Jitin Sahani. I head HR for Hero MotoCorp Gurgaon factory. By profession, it's been 20 years journey in HR, 20 plus. From academics, I'm an engineering, legal, and management mix. Thank you.
Thanks. I think C left. Yeah. You see how so many people want you to introduce yourself. They're always better to miss the mic once.
Hello everyone, I am Parul Kohli. I work at Air India in the Talent Learning and Culture team.
Very nice.
Namaskar everyone. I am Sanjay Dhar. I am Chief of L&D at the Steel Authority of India Limited. I've been in L&D for the past 30 odd years. And there's a little bit of steel in everybody's life, so I'm sure that...
a little bit of steel in everyone's life. Very good.
Namaste all. My name is Ashish Raghav. I head talent solutions for NLB services. Through and through HR, 25 years, still running. Hope to run for another 25 years. Thank you.
Okay. You are all well
Hi,
known.
good evening everyone. This is Shivali Sharma. I am a part of NLB services, again close to 2 decades experience, not touched as yet, but I'm about to touch 20 years very, very soon.
Very good.
And, working happily for the staffing industry and,
nice.
placing a lot of IT professionals and giving people opportunity to join a relevant opportunity. So
Great.
good to meet you all. Thank you so much.
Great, great.
Hi, my name is Talis Rizvi, and we are the media partners for this event. We are a 24-year-old organization that has started communities back in 2004, and we are a small media house which is related to management. So we would request everyone to be a part of that, the events that we do, and maybe if you wish to write, you can share everything. And GP sir is our mentor, so he can tell you better.
But mentor is not very happy that you are hunting. I am mentoring and you are hunting.
Good evening, I'm Samuel Nicodemus. I spent most of my life as a military pilot with the Indian Air Force. Presently work for Boeing, part of the business development team.
Very nice, sir. Sarkar.
Hi, good evening everyone. My name is Amit Sarkar and I head the L&D in Health Cart, and I'm handling some of the functions as an HRBP also. So I have a diverse experience of sales, then L&D, and now in HR.
Very nice.
Thank you.
Sir.
Hi everyone, I'm Vikrant Bhatnagar. I head talent learning and culture for Air India from Monday to Friday. Saturday, Sunday, I receive coaching and listening skills from my wife and daughter. I have been a terrible coachee so far on that front. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I am Pawan Singh, General Manager and Chief Learning Officer in Punjab National Bank, also looking after HR transformation project of PN.
Very nice. We have a representative from banking also. Very nice.
Great. I think the last person in the hall.
Not necessarily.
Not necessarily. My name is Monotosh. A few months back in one of the training program, I was asking my colleagues, you need to introduce yourself, but you can't talk about what is your designation or where are you from. So they had tough time. Many of them had tough time. So I have now suddenly pushed myself in that position. I don't have a designation now. 15 days back, I had a designation. After nearly 30 odd years, I have now shaded my designation, so I am on my own. So I have now taken a journey where I wish to help organizations to transform their HR processes or journey of any individual in their improvements. So that's the journey I am started, and with other colleagues and all. So, and I have been happy to be a part of this August gathering.
Very nice.
And thank you very much for inviting Gaurav.
Thank you so much. Thank you, sir. Gaurav, you want to add yourself? No, no. Gaurav is the Gaurav of this event. Jyoti asked me one more innocent question. Sir, what is in it for me? She is coming here all the way to Anchor. You learn a lot. Learn a lot. Now I am knowing. I said, you learn. Sir, are you sure I will learn a lot? Yes, you learn a lot. I said, learn a lot like what? I said, anything around coaching? Maybe. For example, she asked me for example. This happened yesterday. I said, maybe you will know what kind of people excel in coaching. Achha, how? I said, I will show you. So I was telling somebody, I don't distribute, share gyan. I only exchange pragyan And that pragyan and gyan ka difference is vigyan. So anything you have practiced, anything you experienced is science. Anything you have practiced or anything you experienced, science. So we will do practice today. See, in the last round, is what we'll do is each person will tell about one value or one trait he sincerely, honestly practices. One value or one trait which helps in his or her coaching journey as a coach or coachee. So we'll take this round. That's for Jyoti actually. And when Jyoti gets, all of us will also share. So in one go, we will get to know what kind of traits and what kind of values will help somebody become a better coach or a coachee and contribute this. So we'll start with you. Or shall I start with mine? Mine is continuous learning. So that's the value I practice. Continuous learning. That's it. That's what I do.
For me, it's all about remaining inquisitive.
Remaining?
Inquisitive.
Inquisitive. Oh, very
Yes.
Curiosity, inquisitiveness.
Curiosity,
Very good.
yeah.
Wonderful. Wonderful.
So not yet on my coaching journey though, but yes, I am a coachee and I have few people who I look up to. So I think one trait is being open-minded.
Open-minded.
Not listening with to
Very
whatever is suggested with a
So
closed mind.
openness is one value or a trait. Okay. Quickly. So
As a coach, I think
not
curiosity.
necessarily coach. Your value. That's all. You can be coachy also sometimes.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, that's what we are saying. Your value or your trait.
I think connection. freedom.
Connection. That is the value.
Yeah.
Very good.
Holding space.
Holding space. Very good. New perspective.
I think active listening and staying very grounded.
Selective listening, staying grounded.
Staying
Very
grounded.
good. Wonderful.
Believing in the goodness of whoever I'm interacting with.
Believing in goodness. Very good. Wonderful.
Like they are good.
They are good. Very nice. Wonderful. Great perspective.
I generally believe in integrity because
Integrity is a value. Very good. Sir. Wonderful. Sir.
As a doctor, I believe in empathy.
Empathy is a value. What is the meaning, Hindi term for empathy? Samvedanshilta. Okay. No, I don't. Somebody told me nistha. I don't know. I'll just finding out the right. No, nistha, nistha. Tha se thermos? Nistha. Somebody told me. Let's find out. अभी तो संवेदनशीलता में जाते चलते हैं.
Yeah, for me, too, continuous learning
Continuous
and
learning.
curiosity.
Yeah, thank you, sir. So continuous learning, curiosity.
For me, it is paying forward. So if some good happens to me, I want to pay it forward as a goodness.
Very nice, wonderful.
For me, it's honesty, especially as a coachee while you're getting coached.
Honesty, very good.
For me, it's gratitude and humbleness.
Gratitude and humility.
Persistence and taking small steps every day.
Persistence and taking small steps. Wonderful.
Being spiritual and silence.
Being special.
Spiritual and silence.
Spiritual and
silence.
Silent. Okay. Being spiritual and silent.
For me, it's about standing for the concept of justice, equality, and liberty.
For me, it's observing and absorbing.
Observing and absorbing. Wonderful. Yeah. Great.
For me, it is learning and openness.
Learning
Staying open.
and openness. Staying and openness. Wonderful.
Staying foolish and staying hungry.
Staying foolish
and staying hungry.
Hungry. Very nice. Wonderful.
So being a coachee side, I think good listener and keep learning.
Listening and learning. Gaurav, I hope we have created enough content for the container to take us to the destination. So I'll conclude. Who have left this table? Oh, okay. Sorry. Okay, we missed this table. Okay.
So for me, it's being grateful.
Grateful.
And being a recipient.
Grateful and
Being a recipient.
Being a recipient. Wonderful. Wonderful. Amit?
For me, it's believing in the coach that.
No, not that. Just your trait, your value system. Nothing to do with coach.
So it's
your
more like
your value or your trait.
I personally like to learn from a lot of people.
Learning is a trait. Wonderful.
Respect for people.
Respect for people. Wonderful.
Trust and discipline.
Trust and discipline. Wonderful.
Astha.
Astha. Oh, very,
coach
very,
mein astha.
Very powerful word. Wonderful. Astha. Gaurav, I was about to say that statement in lieu of my last line of the so-called welcome address. I am seeing, I am manifesting that the community that you are building with people like us, so all of us will have a long-term objective or a purpose. I call it destination. All of us feel that coaching is a journey or this event is a journey, but more than that, I personally believe, more than the value of the destination or the significance of the destination or the level of the destination or the path, the rightness path of the destination, path, the righteous path, I will consider one more thing that is very, very important than the destination journey, it's the company. Today, I am in a great company. I have known all of you today. I admire all of you. Then probably I will earn your trust. I admire your company. And I am also started admiring you because you all shared your great wealth of your own values that you are practicing. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for bringing that energy into the audience here, as always. Well, now that two perspectives here, now that everybody's introduced themselves, I also would like to share a bit about me. I purposefully didn't introduce myself prior because being an educationist, I was late. So this is not a norm into our industry, and we usually keep students away from the class then. So I'm working as a professor into one of the leading management institutions, that's New Delhi Institute of Management. I also have 3 of my global book projects, and I would like to be honored with your contributions. I feel really fortunate to be amongst you all. And last but not the least, what I partake as one of these, being a coach, is like at times this new generation carries loads of ideas and confusion. So giving them that silence as a pause so that they can self-reflect. This is exactly what I believe is important as a coach. So this is what I practice. Well, thank you so much, sir. And coming back, we are going to start with the most energetic person into the room, from creating coaching sanctuaries to stirring soul-deep reflection. He is one of the architects of transformation. Please welcome the ever-inspiring Gaurav Arora, sir, who is on the mission to make India the coaching capital of the globe. And he calls himself as a coaching evangelist. With this, may I please call upon Gaurav Arora, sir, to the stage.
Thank you. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. What a pleasure to be here in front of all of you. And all of you who have traveled your journey with me, and you know that I don't start anything without a mindfulness practice. So let's do a quick 2 minutes of mindfulness practice so that we can ground ourselves. Otherwise, it's so easy to get distracted in this glittering world of hotels and conferences and meetings and meeting people in suits and boots, without realizing that each one of us are going through so much pain in our respective lives. And unless we ground ourselves, I think it will be unfair. Shall we do that, if you permit? All right, so if I may request everyone to sit straight. Keep your back straight. Keep your neck straight. You may want to close your eyes or lower down your gaze, whatever is comfortable with you. And bring your entire focus to your breath. What a blessing it is to breathe. What a blessing it is to be alive. Not many people woke up, by the way, this morning. considering the situation that we are in worldwide. Just take this moment to be genuinely grateful for, be it your parents, your siblings, those shoulders that you are standing onto, this breath, and all those people who have helped us to be here. Take this moment to respect all those souls who departed a couple of weeks back just because they were there in our society, the society that we are building together. And they were there in Pahalgam, Kashmir, just to visit what we call as the Switzerland, the heaven on earth. And once you're comfortable, you can come back. Thank you. You know, we are talking about building cultures and empowering teams. And when we are talking about building cultures and empowering teams, we are not talking about building cultures only in the organizations. We are not talking about building teams in the organizations. We are talking about empowering cultures, not only in our families as well, not only in our society as well, the community and the nation that we are a part of. We are talking about building empowering cultures worldwide, and each one of us are contributing in that space. Be it the conversation that we are going to have today with each other, or the conversations that you're having with your family members and your younger ones as well, be it your son, daughter, niece, or your nephew. And that's the reason when we were just putting together our head, I said enough of conferences I have attended where we would have only HR leaders or business leaders coming together. So that means we have not even understood what happens in those empowering teams, especially those people from defense forces. People who are actually fighting for us when we are sleeping. That's the reason I genuinely wanted to bring people together from multi-disciplines. So we have got people who are IPS officers. Vivek, so thank you so much for accepting our invitation and to be here and deliver the keynote speech today. We have got people who have served Indian Air Forces as well. Thank you. I was just reflecting who else should we call. We should call doctors as well, because unless they take care of us, we will not be able to take care of our family members and our team members as well. So that's the reason we have got doctors speaking here as well. Dr. Neeraj, thank you so much. And there are people who I just trust on. When I feel that I'm stuck, I just call a few of my friends. They're like elder brothers and mentors to me. GP sir, thank you for always being a great support. Anupam, always been there. The joke around that we have between two brothers from two mothers is like, I'm just going to throw you out of the plane, and then you will take 3 minutes to land on earth, and I'll make sure that there's a safety net for you. And he asked me, Gaurav, what if there's no safety net? I said, don't worry, I'll still take care of you. And now he jokes around that, Gaurav, in case you call me a few days back and tell me what you have planned, then I would get the heart attack, because if Gaurav is tensed for a conference, it must be something really serious. So that's the kind of friends that I've been really blessed with, be it Vikrant, be it Bhushan, be it Sujita would be coming here, and Preeti would be coming in, and Virendraji, and Nikhil, and Sanjay, and all of you. Because without you, this would not have been possible. So what we can expect from today's conference is, we are talking about building cultures and empowering teams. And my sincere intention is that all of you, when you leave from this space, all of you must be really disturbed. Because if you're not disturbed, you'll not be curious. And in case you're not curious, you're not going to question the conditioning that you have been living from. And that's the reason why we have reached where we have reached as society. So I really want, my intentions are, you should all be genuinely disturbed. And thus, as the byproduct of that disturbance, may you be blessed with curiosity. May we all be blessed with that curiosity. When we were putting together, what is it that we can offer? What is it that we can give to all of you? Of course, we have got certain pamphlets in the, the goodie bag that you have. You have got the magazine that we have recently published, where one of the key leaders from ICF has contributed. So do read that And it's all about building cultures, building teams, and making sure that we can bring in coaching in our day-to-day practices. Because I firmly believe that if you can bring coaching in your day-to-day practice, the way you connect, the way you express, and the way you contribute would never be the same. It's not possible because we are reconditioning the way you have manufactured your mind. We are actually going deep within the brain that you have and operating it really well. Because coaching expands your thought process. Coaching expands your perspective. It just expands your imagination. And just because you have walked that path of coaching, you have got no other choice, because rewiring has already happened. It has already happened. It happened yesterday through people who are not even aware of themselves. And it is going to happen the next 3 hours as well, through people who are going to come here and speak. Because the people who are going to come here and speak, they have actually revisited their own thought process, because who you are is how you coach. Not possible. You cannot play the same game once you've gone through coaching. You know, it's like you are not the same person when you're fallen in love once. You cannot be the same person. You cannot be the same person once you've gone through something which is devastating in your life. You cannot be the same person. Now, similarly, in the next 3 hours is going to be an experience that I promise you, you will not be the same person. And for that, I've got a special gift as well for you. We as an organization, we call ourselves xMonks. xMonks stand for Sant Sipahi. We are inspired by Guru Gobind Singh Ji. And I was surprised when Jaskaran said Namaste. Sat Shri Akal. You know, Sant Sipahi, when he coined the term, Guru Gobind Singh Ji, when he coined the term Sant Sipahi, he said that you should be willing to pull the sword in service of others. And this moment as a country is the moment when we need to pull the sword in service of others. And it has to begin by the way you interact with your children, with your son, daughter, niece and nephew. All the programs that I do, I tell them that in the next 2 days, in the next 3 days, in case you're not going to get anything that you can actually implement, that you can actually put it in practice with your son, daughter, niece and nephew, please don't attend. Don't waste your time. So in the next 3 hours, please make sure that you pick up something for yourself that you will be able to put into practice, not only in your own practice, but gift it to your son, daughter, niece or your nephew. Otherwise, it's a sheer waste of our collective time and our collective consciousness. So for that, I've got a special gift for all of you. So if I may request you, just pull this set of cards for yourself. It's there in your goodie bag. It says mindfulness parenting. Last year, December, my sister who's in Australia called me to Australia. She runs a community of students and parents. And she asked me, Gaurav, can you do something for our community? I said, who all are there in that community? She said, we have got a lot of Asians. I said, what does that mean? Do we have a lot of Indians? And she said, not only Indians, we have got people from different nationalities in Asia. Do we have people from Bhutan and Bangladesh and Pakistan? She said, yes. I said, I would love to lead a session on mindfulness parenting, because I don't know about the current generation, but if we can take care of the next generation, we can definitely bring these two countries together, the multiple countries who are unnecessarily fighting for no reason. We can definitely reprogram the operating system that they've been living with. Because the traumas that I've been carrying for so many years, those traumas don't belong to me. They actually belong to my parents, and unnecessarily I've been holding on to. And what do you expect from people who are carrying traumas for so many years? Of course, betrayal and bitterness and hurt and jealousy. So this is the time to rework on that. So if you look at this set of cards, they're amazing cards. And as all of you who have interacted with me, you know it, I know nothing. When I get stuck, I offer a question as a gift. And this is a set of questioning cards that you can actually ask yourself to be mindful parents. It says, how do I help my child Find moments of stillness, calm, or self-awareness through practices like mindfulness, time, or quiet reflections. The next one says, am I mindful of my child's physical needs, be it nutrition, sleep, and rest, and their impact on the emotional and mental well-being? The next says, how do I stay calm and emotionally regulated during stressful situations with my child? The next one says, how do I respond when my child expresses big emotions like anger, sadness, or frustration? Now, here is a challenge for all of you. If you want to build an empowering teams and building culture of empowerment with your family members, let's start with our children. Let's play with these cards, and I promise you, the most difficult situation where you could find yourself stuck as a coach is not when you're talking to a paid assignment, which is comparatively easier, not when you're talking to your team members, it is when you're talking to your son, daughter, niece, and nephew. It's high time we need to play this game of what I call is building cultures and empowering teams. And of course, we would have conversations about how you can build cultures and empower teams in the organizational setup as well. Ladies and gentlemen, it's an absolute delight to be in the company of all of you who especially made time when the weather was not that conducive, and yet you did make it happen. So thank you so much one more time for being here. We've got an amazing line of speakers coming and sharing their perspectives. And I'm looking forward to learning from each one of you. Shukran. Thank you. Over to you, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for sparking those ideas and stimulating those minds. The corners, those really need to be revealed with answers. Well, moving next, we are very fortunate to have amongst us Mr. Robert Garcia, the future of coaching in organizations, and he is going to delight us and is going to enlighten us upon the same. Well, what happens when you embed coaching deep into the DNA of organizations, which are not just at the top, but throughout the culture? And we breathe in culture day in and day out. Yes, the Vice President and Chief Staff Officer, ICF Coaching in Organizations. May we please listen from you, sir.
Thank you so much.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening. It's a pleasure to be with all of you. Can you hear me well?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Excellent. It's a thrill to be here. Namaste. I am really excited to share some insights with you. I think it's a wonderful opportunity, and I love the fact that India will become the global capital of coaching. This is a wonderful opportunity, certainly, to grow coaching and transform societies through coaching. That's part of our mission at the International Coaching Federation. So I am again thrilled to be here this evening with you. Thank you so much for coming. I'm going to share a few slides with you, and then hopefully we'll have an opportunity to have some questions and some good discussions. So as we talked, obviously the International Coaching Federation, you hopefully are very familiar with. We have 63,000 members in 157 countries, 56,000 credential holders, 3,200 accredited providers, and about 100 member organizations that have joined and want to increase or really create a coaching culture within organizations. And today I'm going to talk a little about that. As we all know, coaching is transformative. It's a thought-provoking, creative process that helps individuals reach their full potential. We love to work with individuals. There are lots of coaches. There are lots of coaches, certainly in the audience, and I'm always thrilled to present and participate in coaching conferences because we are. This is probably one of the most rewarding jobs that I've ever had as an executive coach, and I've done lots of executive coaching. Really to work with individuals to really hone in on developing yourself as an individual and help organizations grow really and explore untapped potential is really remarkable. As you also may know, we have core values, professionalism, collaboration, humanity, and equity. And as the largest representative of professional coaches in the world, we take that very seriously. As I said just now, coaching does transform lives, it transforms organizations, and we see there that many organizations are looking to be more productive, to be more profitable, accelerate change processes, so many opportunities for coaching to really to help organizations grow and get to the next level in their development. Today I'm going to share some examples of some organizations that are really using coaching to transform themselves. We talk a little about, or a lot actually, about culture. So culture changes organizations. Culture makes organizations successful, and we see here. I've done some research and looked at what some organizations are saying about culture and how culture transforms business. So we see that Gallup says that work-life balance is extremely significant when individuals are evaluating jobs. So we know that wellness is also a very important. Gaurav just talked about wellness and mindfulness is an important part of what we do in organizations. Deloitte also talks about the acknowledgement of culture being part of a company's success. Harvard Business Review looked at learning-oriented cultures transforming these organizations, and we see here some attributions of transformative cultures and what they can create. So we're really excited that coaching enables this culture, sustains the culture that the organization wants to create. We start obviously with the individual. We have working one-on-one with individuals and creating opportunities within the organization, different stakeholders. We talk about the ripple effect of coaching and how coaching can embrace individuals and teams together to create a more agile work environment. We've done a study. This is the seventh iteration. This year we're going to conduct it again, and we like to look at a coaching culture. We like to define it. Very excited about what we're doing around culture in organizations, working with organizations to really develop different aspects of coaching. And you can see there that employees and senior leaders are valuing coaching, are really recognizing that coaching is an important part of the organization. Also, it's very important for us to work with organizations like xMonks that are an accredited center with ICF to provide organizations with coach-specific training. There are a lot of individuals that call themselves coaches. We recognize that, and our mission is to educate individuals, those individuals that seek out coaches, for them to seek out coaches that have been trained professionally and have sought the credentials. And that's an important part because there's ethical standards that need to be upheld, and you can rely on the International Coaching Federation to address any concerns that you may have if you ever have those working with an individual. Also, we stress to the organizations that are building these coaching cultures that there's a dedicated budget for coaching, and that's an important part of what we do. Also, that everyone has access to coaching. We know that organizations start their coaching journey with typically executive coaching at the senior levels, but we want to see all organizations provide coaching to everyone within the organization, from frontline employees all the way up to the senior leadership team. And then leverage these three modalities of coaching that we define as executive coaching, so external coaching, so individuals that are providing business coaching to individuals within the organization. Also, lots of organizations are building internal coaching capabilities. The opportunity for individuals to get professionally trained as coaches and train and coach their peers and other employees within the organizations. And one of the most exciting parts of what we are doing, a part of the programs that we are developing, is more information in terms of leaders using coaching skills. We want everyone to have this coaching mindset so that you can build a robust organization through providing leaders with coaching skills. So as I said just now, coaching has a ripple effect. When we talk to individuals one-on-one, sort of the micro aspects of coaching can create great things. Through team coaching, certainly a great opportunity to work with managers and leaders within organizations, creating a coaching culture, and then macro, globally impacting entire communities and societies. And that role as the coaching organization, we take that seriously because we know that we can provide significant social impact when coaching skills are used in all conversations. We hear frequently from individuals that have experienced coaching that coaching transcends beyond business into personal lives, better relationships with spouses, with children, with communities, and truly we're transforming or changing the world through coaching. A little on team coaching. Lots of organizations are implementing a team coaching process, and you see there that it's partnering and having this reflective process with a team. Typically, it's a leader working with a coach on a systemic approach to looking at the factors that are affecting the organization. What are some of those challenges, and how do we overcome them? Working collectively and individually on goals. We want to make sure that individuals are aligning their personal and professional goals to the goals of the organization, so that together we can grow and create a better, more productive, more professional organization where everybody feels welcomed and integrated and engaged in the organization. And the team self-sustains itself to develop and problem solve. We also see other organizations that are creating group coaching opportunities, and this is different. Everyone comes with their challenges or opportunities and leverages the collective wisdom of the team, looking at opportunities for self-awareness and learning and sharing goals as a team. Perhaps in some organizations, individuals come from different aspects or different business units coming together to really work on issues and explore opportunities and possibilities. And there's lots of peer learning opportunities and providing and sharing their experiences and diverse experiences and perspectives. I wanted to share with you that we're doing a lot of work around AI-enabled coaching as well. We are excited at the possibilities that AI-enabled coaching brings, particularly to organizations. We talk a lot about a coaching culture. We talk a lot about how providing coaching to everyone, enabling everyone to access coaching and really understand the value that coaching has, the tremendous opportunities that coaching can create. And we feel that enabling, using AI to enable coaches to become better coaches, more efficient, working on scalability. We obviously are working closely with the providers of AI-enabled coaching to make sure that there's transparency, that there is mitigation in terms of any biases that may be created, so that it's fair and equitable experiences for everyone, and that privacy and security is respected and provided. As I said earlier, we are really excited about leaders using coaching skills, and these are opportunities for leaders to become better leaders, to empower their teams, to really uh, increase or create a culture of learning and growth within the organization, ultimately for all of us to be successful. So you see here some of the skills that are important for leaders to utilize, and this is using a coach approach. So setting goals, active listening, curiosity, asking powerful questions. These obviously are the competencies that we as coaches use, and we want to make sure that leaders are implementing these and becoming better coaches. We are creating an innovative program um, offered to leaders within organizations to really distill these core principles and techniques to make sure that they are integrated into the leadership practices that they have to help them become better leaders by motivating employees, becoming much more successful in their journey to develop as leaders and certainly develop their teams within their organizations. Here is another study that I'd like to share with you, and we looked at the three modalities of coaching: external coaches, internal coaches, and then managers and leaders using coaching skills. And we see that there are some similarities in terms of how coaching is being used. What are some of the reasons that individuals are coming to coaching and utilizing it to become better communicators, better decision makers, and ultimately better leaders. So it's important for us to see the differences, the nuances between one modality and the other. But we are obviously very excited to really make sure that organizations are using coaching to their full capabilities with all aspects of coaching throughout the organization. Another exciting part of what we're doing at ICF is we've created a coaching culture compass. This is an assessment that will provide a maturity matrix and an insights report. So it's providing organizations with a roadmap. It's going to benchmark the organization against other organizations that are creating coaching culture, looking at the behaviors that are promoted and exhibited with the within the organization, so that organizations know where they are, and more importantly where they are, where they need to go to improve or really create a strong coaching culture within the organization. So we see here on the screen that we've done some correlation based on our ICF research. So we've looked at several scales to really integrate them. We ask questions of the individuals that are leading the coaching practice within the organization, making sure that they are really promoting coaching within the organization, making sure that there's a dedicated budget, that it's part of the performance management process, that there is a sharing of ideas, that there is coach-specific training, and then there are opportunities for coaches and coaching supervision within the organization. So we've launched this. There are already a number of companies that have participated, and we anticipate that we're going to have additional great data moving forward. I also wanted to share with all of you a few case studies. Mahindra and Mahindra, obviously you may be well aware, is an automotive manufacturing organization headquartered in India, 140,000 employees. And their challenge was they wanted to enhance leadership development, employee engagement. This is a common challenge in many organizations, and they did an employee survey. They wanted to gather information on the culture. They wanted to really understand what needed to improve so that the culture could and the engagement could improve within the organization. They provided training on culture, on coaching, and it started with onboarding, the onboarding process. So from the very beginning, when you join the organization, you are provided with training and access to coaching. And they recognize the behaviors that align to what they regarded as a coaching culture. And clearly, there were great results as in the process that they developed. They developed leaders. It was a much more supportive work environment. It increased awareness of the use of coaching practices, impacting their growth as professionals and personal growth as well. And overall, their performance improved. So this is a great example of how an organization has used a coaching approach to create a coaching culture within the organization that ultimately improves productivity and performance of the organization. We also have some great examples. We recognize the best in class. We have the ICF Coaching Impact Awards. And this year we recognized MD Anderson. In the past, you may be aware, Tata Consultancy Services won the award as well. And we've had AstraZeneca, Intel, Cleveland Clinic, and SAP also are former winners. And I wanted to share with you some of the impact or the transformative power that coaching has had. At MD Anderson, 41% increase in promotions of those individuals that participated in coaching. They were able to reduce turnover by 48%. At AstraZeneca, managers and leaders using coaching skills had a cost savings of $4 million per year, so that's pretty significant. Intel's ROI contributed to $1 billion in operating margins. Tata Consultancy has over 700 plus coaches, and they've recorded measurable results in all aspects of their business. Cleveland Clinic had an $84 million cost savings as they were able to retain physicians within their organizations, and they had addressed an issue where physicians were leaving the organization, and they implemented a coaching approach and really were able to retain physicians. And as you may know, physicians are very difficult to recruit, and their availability many times is limited. So it's a great opportunity for them to keep the physicians within happy and productive and fully engaged in providing patient care. And then SAP, $2.6 million cost savings and a 289% ROI. And I know you will agree with me, these are staggering figures. We have case studies available. I encourage you to go to our website at coachingfederation.org and look at these case studies, because you will see how the organizations determined the ROI or the impact that coaching has had on their organizations. Finally, if you are a coach, certainly, or make sure that you list yourself on credentialed coaches. If you haven't experienced coaching, we welcome you to find a coach. If you want to be a coach, there are great opportunities. xMonks, I know, provides great training and opportunities. Thank you so much for the opportunity to be with you. And I think we have some minutes for some questions.
I'm Nidhi Agarwal, part of the India coaching team for ZS Associates, and also a leadership coach for the last 10 years. My question, I've been a global member since 2015-16, so thank you for all the work that ICF does. My question is, how does one ascribe retention or engagement strategy only to coaching? Because there are initiatives which get taken up, right? So just to say that this is only because of coaching, how have these companies worked it out? I would love to know that, so that I can also showcase the impact that we coaches are creating in the organization. Thank you.
Yes, yes. Thank you so much for your question. And that is a great question and something that we're always striving to do. How do we attribute all of the metrics and analytics that exist in the organization specifically to coaching? And that's difficult. That's difficult. Organizations have looked at the organization before coaching, and then they evaluate the organization after coaching and attributed some of that impact on coaching. I don't know, there's so many variables that exist within the organization, but I think that we need to and again I encourage you to look at the case studies because they've done a really good job of trying to isolate and clarifying the attribution of the coaching initiative to the actual turnover. In one example, as I said, in Cleveland Clinic, they were having huge turnover from physicians, and nothing really changed other than implementing a coaching approach, working closely, one-on-one, assigning coaches to each physician, and really making the physicians well aware of what was happening in the organization. And they were able to attribute that the difference in physician retention was this coaching approach. So we see many examples of organizations really using metrics that already exist within the organization and implementing a coaching process to the organization, and looking at these favorable results. And again, it is a work in progress. One of our research studies is actually looking at the impact of coaching and providing organizations with better metrics to determine the impact or the ROI of coaching. So it's definitely a work in progress. Hopefully, this year we will have something that you can utilize as a benchmark for the impact of coaching.
Thank you, Robert, for for sharing your experiences and being with us. It's always an honor. It was a pleasure meeting you in Mumbai last year when you were here. It's an absolute pleasure today as well. Thank you. We look forward to having you and continue to hold the baton of coaching in India and ensure that we become the coaching capital of the world sooner than later.
And I love that. And thank you again for the opportunity. Really a pleasure. It's good to see you. And thank you so much for your commitment to really growing coaching in India and throughout the world.
Thank you, Robert, and thank you, Tuba, and the entire team, including Deepti as well, for making it possible for us.
Wonderful. Enjoy the rest of your conference.
Thank you so much, sir, for sharing that change often comes as a challenge when it is not managed. And in today's world, I'm going to replace now artificial intelligence to the term as ample insights. Well, that's exactly what each of the coach really hides when we talk about the exact challenge wherein they hold ample insights and they have to work on to the privacy protection. Well, that's a real challenge for, I guess, for all of those coaches here. And now we are going to, thank you so much, sir, for sharing those insights. We are now going to proceed towards understanding how come somebody positioned into the beginning of their career into banking could think about getting themselves positioned towards the end of their career into fire services. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together as we welcome on stage Mr. Vivek Srivastav, sir, Director General, Fire Services, Civil Defense and Home Guards. He's going to enlighten on how does coaching and leadership under pressure and the lessons from the uniformed services. Can we have, please have you on the stage, sir.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Now, to start with, actually, it was this topic itself, which was sort of assigned to me. Coaching and leadership under pressure. And speaking to such a distinguished gathering, but it was, actually, I was under a lot of pressure, to be very frank. What to speak to such an august gathering, who by virtue of the positions and the experience which they have, they already would have experienced most of those things. So it is only a question of putting it into a theoretical perspective, but as Mr. Rao said, nobody wants too much of gyan. So it was a difficult assignment. Now, first I thought, why have I been chosen, actually, to give this talk on this topic? So maybe I have actually put in, till now, 36 years of service. As the compeer said, I started as a banker. I was a banker for 6 months, then got into the police service. Now, what kind of experiences actually you gather along the way, it shapes your personality and your ability to deal with situations. So one may actually say, you may not have actually planned for it, but you were actually put into it. So what you would have become today and how one may actually handle pressure, to a large extent, will depend upon what experiences you have had, and I will show you how in this case. And also, there is also a case to a substantial extent if you actually introspect on that and try to improve yourself. So basically, you will be actually 2 or 3 things will be acting together. One would be your maybe inherent, you can say, your genetics. Some people by birth maybe are better able to handle pressure, maybe. Second would be the experiences which you have gone through, for which you may have opted for, or life would have thrown it on your head. And the third is, whether you have realized that, where do you want to go, and then you have worked your way towards it. So it will basically be an interplay of all those things which will ultimately endow you with ability to lead under pressure. Now I'll tell you, as I said, as you see, I'm not very tall, not very heftily built. So I was a very studious kind of a person. Nobody would have said this person would ever go into the police. But as one says, I was good in writing exams. I gave the UPSC exam. The rank was such, I missed the IAS and got the IPS. So यहाँ पे normally होता है कि you go by a choice. So as I said, it is destiny. It is not a case that where I opted for the Indian Police Service. Now, having got the Indian Police Service, I got Gujarat cadre. And my first posting after training, I was posted in Surat. I joined in November, and in 6th December, Babri Dhwans happened. And Surat experienced the worst riots. In 3 days, in my subdivision, 150 people got slaughtered. And I bore the brunt of that. So I saw very early in my life people being killed, being burnt alive. I think I would be one of the few people who would have actually gone into and I've seen people dying, massacred, cut into pieces. So you can understand, as an assistant commissioner of police, you have to lead a motley group of police officers to deal with the situation where you are not experienced at all. You are just 1 month old into the service. Next was, this can only be, nobody can actually opt for this kind of a thing, or the learning which it, if you can call it learning, which it will impart. In between, number of things happened, and then I landed as Superintendent of Police in Bhuj. So I joined on 3rd January 2000, 26 January, the Bhuj earthquake happened. That was the biggest ever disaster which this country had seen. In 100 seconds flat, 20,000 dead, 1,50,000 injured. The hospital at Bhuj collapsed. 250 doctors, nurses, you say buried alive. In the neighboring town, children were taking out a Prabhat ferry, 250 children dead, buried alive and died. So this was the situation. And then, of course, I had the fortune to actually have worked with people. All of them are actually great in their own right. The first such people, apart from your family, of course, actually everybody idealizes one's father or mother, etc. So I will keep that apart. The first was, I was the ADC, ADD CAM, of Mr. Naresh Chandra. He was the governor of Gujarat. Now, he was a very, very distinguished, actually, bureaucrat. He had been chief secretary of Rajasthan, in bureaucracy, chief secretary in the state. That is the highest position you can aspire for. Then he became the Union Home Secretary. Then he became the Cabinet Secretary. Then he became the Governor of Gujarat. And then he became the Indian Ambassador to the USA. So from a bureaucrat's point of view, he had occupied any and every position a bureaucrat would want to actually aspire for. He was a bachelor, and he became very fond of me. I also used to play TT, so he would play TT with me. He would call me, and I'll sit and we'll have. So from very close quarters, I could observe him and learn many things from him. And many important anecdotes, I can actually recount, which I still remember. Normally, the brain will actually fade away or discard things which you actually don't like. But some things are actually embedded. Then when I went on deputation, I came to the Special Protection Group. So I was DIG in the Special Protection Group. So there I worked with Mr. Vajpayee was there. Now, as a DIG, Mr. Vajpayee was the Prime Minister of that time. DIG stands nowhere. But his son-in-law, and we were from the same school. So he said, he is not to be treated like any other officer, he is a part of the family. So as a very junior officer, I was invited to sit for, he was fond of eating, so sham ko agar he is having snacks and tea, then I would also be invited. Now you can imagine, an officer with 14, 15 years of service, or that too in the police, sitting after 3-4 from the Prime Minister, offered pakoda, aapka pakoda to muh ke niche andar jayega nahi, because so, but the point is, not that there was interaction, but I could witness how these people actually. Then the government changed, and Mr. Manmohan Singh became the Prime Minister. I became DIG Operations. Now, DIG Operations is the person who actually supervises over the close protection teams and trains them also. And he is the person, if you see the Prime Minister moving, there will be 2 identical vehicles. So in one, the Prime Minister is sitting, and in another, the DIG Operations sits. And which will be ahead is determined by the DIG operations. So you interact very, very closely with the PM. You actually tell him, sir, acha, wahan jaiye, ab ruk jaiye, ab nahi jaiyega. So you actually train him. So, कि नहीं रुक जाना है, अभी नहीं जाना है, तो he will always look at you कि क्या करना है. तो you will do your work, हाँ सर चलिए, अब now you मुस्कुराइए, whatever. And then, of course, then I joined, there was a series of explosions. In Gujarat, I was also SP Operations Anti-Terrorist Squad. And we could kill actually 4 people in Ahmedabad city. So that is actually a pressure situation. It is not easy to kill a person. So, even other operations I had done. So, the IB asked whether you want to join the IB, because across India, 100 people had got killed, so they were actually choosing and collecting people. So I said, okay, I'll work in the Intelligence Bureau. So that is how I shifted to the Intelligence Bureau. And in the Intelligence Bureau, while I was heading the SIB Patna, so there was this bomb blast at Bodh Gaya. So, of course, the government asks you, ki kaun tha? You are the intelligence man, you have to say. I may be an intelligence person, but I am not antaryami. So, you have to work very hard under a lot of pressure to figure out ki who were there. So, basically, maybe this was, I can go on and on, actually. But then when Mr. Modi became the Prime Minister, so I was made the youngest head of the Special Protection. I became Director SPG. I was I was the youngest ever to head a central police organization in India. So, and then of course I came back to IB, and now I am heading this 3 verticals: the fire services, the civil defense, and the home guard. Now, while I was contemplating about leadership and the issue of coaching, now what is basically leadership? How do you what should a leader do? Basically, it is an art of actually influencing and maybe inspiring people to achieve a common goal or vision. That is what basically the job of a leader is. How will the leader do that? There are 2 ways: your personal conduct, because people will see, and what you communicate with your subordinates, and how do you actually inspire them to actually do what you want them to do. Now, here I will distinguish how from actually uniformed service, and for example, an IAS officer, or maybe even in the industry, how leadership becomes actually different, your personal conduct. If you are actually basically a desk manager, most of the time what you do is you actualize on file. While if you're in the uniformed forces, it is very difficult to hide yourself. People will see, and you may think you are very smart, and while your conduct, public conduct may be different and your personal conduct would be, people will see through. So as a uniformed officer, in fact, one of the best books I have written is by General Slim, Turning Defeat into Victory. That was on the in the war which he fought in the World War II, when actually the Japanese had almost come inside India. There you have to walk the talk. There is no way you can actually be two-faced. You do one thing while you profess to do something, some other things. Second is your ability to communicate with your subordinates. Now, this was a journey. That is where I realized the importance of actually coaching. A uniformed service, normally you will associate with there is a definitive direction which you are giving to your subordinates. For example, while I was in the state, I was the superintendent of police. I headed 4 districts at different points of time. I was SP of Baroda, SP of Panchmahal, SP of Kutch, as I said, and SP of Junagadh. And I was SP of SP Operations Anti-Terrorist Squad also. Now there you give a definitive order. For example, in the encounter, you said 4 terrorists are there, and there you use deadly force and kill them. So you take your AK-47, you kill them. There is no, in a sense, coaching involved there. Because the direction is very clear what you have to do. If there is an unlawful assembly, you have to remove them, you have to use force. You say, okay, lathi charge karo, itne log, remove it, clear it. So when there are clear directions, then the use of coaching is not there. Now, coaching comes in situations where I will say, for example, when this situation is ambiguous and there is no clear direction which you can give, and where you would actually want your subordinates to use their mind and give their full energy into that, but you cannot dictate to them what they have to do. So you have to elicit their full cooperation. Now, in these situations where basically the situation is stressful but ambiguous and you have to get results, this is the place where actually coaching helps. I'll come to the example of, for example, the Bhuj earthquake. As I told you, in 100 seconds, I was there at the parade ground. Parade was to start at 9 a.m. I was there at 9:45. All hell broke loose in 100 seconds. All my headquarters fell down, office. Yeah, the Bhuj town was a rubble. In Bhuj town, which was not a very large town, 5,000 people died. So you can imagine how many people were injured. It was like almost like a mini pralay. So you are left a standard, what do I have to actually do? My officers also, 50 of them had got, later I realized had got killed. There is no water, there is no telephone, there is no communication, nothing is working, there is no electricity. Your people are also affected because they are local. So then to get them to do whatever there is, no clear direction or orders are actually likely to work. Here you have to actually sit down, and there your leadership actually comes to the fore. Also, I can tell you, no amount of disaster management training is also going to help you. You are there, you have to actually think through a situation. So there, the problem is immense. So many people killed, so many injured, almost all permanent infrastructure destroyed. What can I do? So if you are able to, if you're a leader, then you will have to actually, as in a sense, what Gaurav asked us to do at Valley, you have to practice mindfulness. Nothing really will come unless your brain becomes calm. If you're in a panic mode, then nothing is. So when your brain is calm, then you actually think through, a large problem is there, how to deconstruct it into smaller manageable problems. And where you can actually assign people to do those small. For example, lots of people started coming, wo multi-storied building gir gaya hai, 20 people are trapped. One girls' hostel had collapsed, 100 girls trapped inside, maybe dead, you really don't know. Everybody is asking, I require JCB machines, manpower to get my close, near and dear ones out of the rubble. Some people will throw their weight around, I am so and so. His house may have collapsed and there may be 2 relatives or maybe mother or child inside. There is a girls' hostel with 100 girls there. Your resources are limited. What will you do? I can tell you this is one of the more extreme pressures as a leader you will have to face. And there you actually will have to walk the talk, or till such time you are able to mobilize resources in such a volume that all of them can be satisfied, then you will have to actually prioritize. So this is what I am trying to say, in an ambiguous situation, so you have to actually get your men, do something for them, tell them that this is the place to actually to rise above personal benefits, and then get them. Actually, this itself will take almost a couple of hours to actually deliver. But what I'm trying to say is that these were the times when I realized my earlier experience of directly giving orders, etc., is really not working. I was not exposed to coaching or Gaurav at that point of time, but the mental thought what started going that way. This, from here, actually, I would like to actually slightly divert also, maybe as a sort of a footnote. All of you would be reading books. Some books influence you quite a bit. But the same book will not influence all of you equally. Why is it actually so? Have you actually ever wondered why that happens? Some people, the same speaker will actually influence all of you in a different fashion. That is primarily because your mind is being cultivated in some direction. And if it has reached a point where what the book is trying to say, or that person is trying to say, is almost in the same wavelength, then it will immediately connect. Otherwise, you will reject it. So the same book will have a profound influence on somebody. The same book, a person will not like at all, another person at all. So here what I am trying to say is that these experiences gradually change my mind from a normal technique of giving direct instructions to having a policy of employing these techniques to get the elicited behavior from my subordinates for succeeding as a leader. And then a long time later, Gaurav happened, 4 years back. In fact, when I met him, let me say, then it was actually in a coffee shop in Bangalore. So there was a cousin of mine and he was also there. And I just asked him, maybe out of sheer politeness, what he does. So he said, I coach. So I was actually very coach-centric. What can you coach? What can you teach me? But then a conversation ensued. And since my mind was also in that sense, he really influenced me. And he said, why don't you actually try it? If you don't like it, you can always reject it. And that was the start of that process. Another experience which I will actually tell you regarding that while I was heading the intelligence bureau, I have been in the intelligence bureau also for 14 years. And that is a place where you really don't interact with people. It is a sort of a faceless work. So I was heading the Bihar-Jharkhand area. And that was the first time when bombings happened at Bodh Gaya. Now, Bodh Gaya, 10 bombs exploded, 3 did not explode. Thankfully, nobody got killed, but people got injured. Now, Bodh Gaya is the most important site for the Buddhist in the world. So, any terror act there, you can imagine, the Prime Minister, the CM, everybody is who has done it. And of course, while the police will do their job, it is the intelligence agencies who are asked to figure out who would have done that. So that led to who would have done that. Now, that is a very difficult thing to answer. Again, here I say, here you cannot tell your subordinates. Here, actually, many times I found that 2 kinds of leaderships emerge. One type of leadership would be with so much of pressure from Delhi and here and there, what you start doing, you crack. And then you start shouting. All of you must have experienced during a course of your career, your boss, kuch nahi samajh mein aaya, to khub chillaye. For whatever it is worth, sometimes it works also. So, but the point is, if the boss has nothing really to tell you as a leader, then the natural reaction would be shouting. And abusing everybody, everybody is useless, and with the implication that probably you are the only person who knows what to do. But you are really not saying what is to be done. The second is where you collectively accept that some mistake might have happened, and maybe all of us to different degrees maybe, and we try to figure a way out of that. So here again, isme kiya kisne hoga? Where do you start? Now there is a question whether one should go into the tradecraft of intelligence service or not, but the point is that nothing happens in isolation. So it must be connected from some, some tar kahin pe juda hoga. So this actually, again, it was a larger problem. So it was, and we working out, and then we could actually go to Yasin Bhatkal, and he was arrested from Nepal. And 13 other IM modules were actually, and that led to this solving of that case. So in the last bit, what I will try to say is, when under pressure, great leaders, instead of getting actually will be depressed others, will try to turn the situation in their favor. I have worked with, as I said, Mr. Narendra Modi. I have found in one champion who is able to turn adversity in his favor. In umpteen number of times. You can start with the post-Godhra riots, to the demonetization when it actually became a digitalization success story. It started with one thing, yeah, but as a leader, you see where you are going, and you can actually use it for making transformative changes. This is one person actually whom I have found. So in the end, I will only try to say one thing. It is not really about the cards which you have been dealt, but it is how you play the hand that ultimately will determine whether as a leader you will succeed under pressure or not. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you so much, sir, for sharing the entire journey. And thank you so much, Ericsson Consulting, and definitely the xMonks, wherein you've just mentioned and I just read the most insightful that, yes, you are going to talk right from your journey of being Shunya. And yes, how do you expand your souls and stir those learning? Maybe please felicitate sir with a huge round of applause. Yes. I would like to differ from what you started your entire insightful talk with, that you were probably thinking, how would you talk about leadership under pressure? But I guess you had the most insights to share amongst all of us and take those insights forward as well into whatever zones we walk in. Thank you so much, sir, for sharing your insights. Well, now that the learning zone and this horizon is going to get a little more broader, now that we are going to move towards SAIL. And that's now I'm going to call upon Mr. Sanjay Dhar, Chief General Manager, HR L&D, MITI SAIL, who is sir is a trained coach from Ericsson, and yes, SAIL has trained more than 40 leaders into the coaching industry. Now, this is an industry which is no longer a luxury but a necessity. Least do we realize it, most we feel it. Can we please have you on stage, sir?
Good evening, namaskar, and a pleasure and honor to be here. And thank you for the introduction. I am from SAIL, MTI. So just clarifying MIT, MTI, a lot of things can get mixed up. No issues, it's okay. We take it as a compliment when people say that you are from MIT. So no issues. But then somebody reminds me that I have juniors who are from Muzaffarpur Institute of Technology. So again, we get back to ground. So that's life. So MTI is Management Training Institute because it has that connotation of being the management college of SAIL at a time when there were no industrial management colleges. There was no HRD centers. This is 1962. That shows the vision of our seniors at that point of time who were institution builders. So a pleasure to be part of that institute, and a pleasure to be part of SAIL, an honor to be part of SAIL. We say there's a little bit of SAIL in everybody's life. Let me walk you through our experience of what has happened in SAIL in our journey to shift the culture, and why we are using coaching as a kind of head fake in the organization. We want a lot of our people to change their basic style of leadership in an organization where traditionally we have been looking up at leaders who know the answers. We have been going up to people and saying, okay, what do we do now? A blast furnace has to be tapped. Give us a decision. That's it. And we are in a process industry. Please appreciate that. So in a process industry, you need split-second decisions. You can't really stop a process halfway. So the kind of leadership traits that have been appreciated and that have developed over a bit of time have been Sir, again, with due deference to Shastri Saab, we needed more policemen kind of people who could give us clear instructions on what to do. But, and it's a risky organization, process, so you really can't really take too many chances. But then going forward, when we are looking at our own organization and its challenges going forward, we've hit a phase where we are going to go for a quantum jump in terms of capacities. We're going from 20 million ton right now to 35 million ton by 2032. And we are going to reduce our manpower to half. So you can understand what's going to happen there. We are an old industry, but we have a whole range of high-tech industries embedded within our processes, all the way from cryogenics to high-end AI to having SAP installations which have 14,000 licenses. You understand the kind of scale. We had IBM consultants coming in and we were telling them how to map the process for a battery, and he was thinking it was some small car battery, and then we had to show him a battery is 80 meters long and 7 meters high. So they get a different kind of context. So in that thing, how do you really shift the leadership style of the people? Because the fear of changing your style is also very high. People feel that things will collapse. That becomes a very big thing. And you also have to appreciate that an organization which has had a legacy of more than 60, 70 years, values get embedded very strongly. So again, changing things becomes difficult. So what we had to do was, we had to try a mechanism by which we will influence people without fundamentally telling them that you have to change. So how do you do that? You make them reflect more. You make them internalize a lot of issues and figure out what to do. And you make them change some critical habits. And what was the critical habit that we had to change in our people? Can you stop giving direct commands and holding a pause and trying to figure out what will emerge in a particular situation or what somebody will come out? Can you let go of that anxiety to really act very fast and give it a pause and then find out what can be done? Can you listen to somebody despite the tremendous pressures of the process and all that stuff? So that was the bigger issue that we had. You also have to appreciate we had a very strong culture of L&D. As I said, MTA was set up in 1962. So we had a lot of structured inputs, learning and development, structured training, mandatory training courses. So input, fine. But at some point of time, you figure out that the context is changing. Maybe people don't need more input. They need more reflection. How do you do that? The other thing is that in a structured kind of processes, the mind tends to get very structured. So how do you let people explore the nuances of a particular thing and not really get stuck in the basic patterns? That was our challenge, especially for our senior people. So we had this cultural challenge that we needed to push up. So when we start looking at what kind of cultural shift we needed people to have more empowering conversations. We needed people to create conversation and create spaces where new people, young people, people from different backgrounds can share some ideas which our organization needs. This is also happening because we are getting into, as I said, huge, major digital transformation projects. And all those great steel makers, they live and dream steel, but when it comes to digital technology, okay, that's not really their cup of tea. They are catching up on it, but the youngsters who come in know much more than them. So how do you really handle that challenge? So what we did was we tried to have a different kind of intervention. We wanted an intervention where people can have more empowering dialogues and work on the nuances. So how do you do that? We decided to have an intervention called Swadhyay, which again by its very name means self-learning. How do I learn myself? And we started doing some programs on coaching. The first time we tried to launch coaching, we had an interesting reaction, very interesting concept. But who will coach us? Who does steel making better than us? Because they were mixing up the role of a coach with the role of a mentor. And that was a very typical challenge that people had. We were so used to the sage giving us the answers that reflecting on a process where you don't get the answers, you get questions, was something that did not sink in. So we took some time to get people alive to the concept, and then again we tried once again, and they said, fine, this sounds interesting, let's give it a try. So we tried with a small pilot and did some workshops, and we had some very interesting results. I'll just share one particular incident. We were doing a small workshop on coaching, and somebody said, boss, I will act as the coachee and let's do a role play. And he gave the coach a horrible time. And we said, boss, you've practically put us in a spot now. What do we do? But he said, no, I didn't put you in a spot. I am only replicating the kind of subordinate that I have. So I am facing those issues. I wanted to figure out what will you do with him. You are teaching me coaching, but what will you do with him? And then we went about deciphering his subordinate. He had certain issues. He was married to a doctor. He was in a family of high achievers. Being an engineer, but in a family of doctors, you will understand that subtle difference. That in a family of doctors, an engineer is slightly subpar. So I'm an engineer in MBA, that's fine. And he had a lot of issues because he had come from south and he was working in Bokaro, and he wanted to go south and that kind of things. He said, I don't know what to do with him. Every time he comes to me and he comes with the barrage of issues. So we started deciphering it and figuring out, do you really listen to him? He said, I have so many things of my own, what do I do? But do you really listen to him? So we recreated it once again. He said, kindly listen to him. And do you really think that he is coming to you for answers? Or is he coming in for some other unmet need of his? Again, we had a lot of discussion on how do you really handle him, how do you question him, how do you probe him, how do you ask open-ended questions, all that stuff. And then he went back. So the program is over. We had this journey-based system, so which would mean that after some time we'll take a review. We used to take weekly reviews. Again, just adda. We'd call all the participants for 1 hour and say, okay, what has been your experience this week? What have you picked up? And things like that. And they would share. And 1 month down the line, he says, boss, this guy is a gem. He is transformed and, he's doing a lot of things, and I've even recommended him some from, award and all that and some training. So he shared his experience and he said, I am feeling so light. I don't have to give him solutions. I only have to listen to him and ask him questions. And he has all the answers. So the beautiful part was, for somebody who tried handling a difficult person, he was trying to test our concepts. He didn't believe in coaching. He was just trying to test our concepts. He found it a very transforming experience for himself, a very, liberating experience for himself. That suddenly I am free from the burden of having to solve his problems. And I'm discovering that this guy is capable of doing a lot of things. So this is fantastic. I said, fine. It so happened that after some time, because he was very happy with him, he nominated him for some training program in MTI. So this guy comes to MTI. And I heard that, sir, there's a participant who wants to meet you. I said, what happened, bhai? Okay, I am the head of the unit, fine, but no, he especially wants to meet you. So he comes to me and says, sir, what have you done to my boss? Kya ho gaya? He says, sir, I didn't know what you have done to him. After he went to MTI, he came back and he called me and then he said, let's have a conversation and I just want to listen to you. And I want to hear what are your issues. And he listened very patiently and then he started asking me some questions and then I answered some more. Then he started asking me some more questions. I suddenly realized he cared for me. So far I had been thinking I was the only electrical engineer. There were so many mechanical engineers. He is from mechanical discipline. And I must be doing something wrong. And every time when I used to go and meet him, I used to feel some sense of anxiety. Am I really coming up to his standards or not? So I was always feeling judged. And suddenly he opened up and, it was such a relief to me. And sir, after some time, that has become a habit. So I thought one day something has happened. Maybe he's trying to figure out something. I'm in for something big. He's just priming me for something. So I was still skeptical, but he kept on. And then I told him, sir, what is it? He says, Nini, I had gone to MTI. I learned something about coaching. And I wanted to try it out. So I also had to take a lot of patience not to, rush into answers. But this stuff is working well. And he says, sir, I'm very happy. I'm grateful to you. I wanted to come and thank you for transforming my boss. And tell me, as a head of an L&D organization, it's a great compliment for us because most of the time, whenever you have a good program, a very common comment that we get is, sir, damn good program. Please give it to my boss. So that was very interesting. With this kind of insight, I shared it with my director HR and he shared it with chairman. This is what has happened and this is a very interesting story. He said, no, I think there is something in it. Let's try it out. Let's do it. But then we realized there is another issue about coaching. One is the intention, which is a necessary thing. The basic positive regard that you need to have for people is required. You can't do it without that. But then the other part is the skill. So we realized that maybe we need to develop more people more rigorously in the coaching skills. And that's when we went in for a more formalized process. We had earlier done some sporadic coaching programs and coach development program. Then we went for a more robust program with xMonks for developing our people as coaches. But again, it was a head fake. More than coaches, what we were looking at was getting our leaders to think differently. And we essentially had two complementary objectives. One is to develop an internal pool of coaches who will coach more people. But other was to develop a core group of leaders who will embody and profess coaching values and popularize a coaching style of leadership. So once we develop somebody as a coach, formally he might end up coaching 2-3 people depending on what kind of structure we have in place. But what is more important is once he embodies that mindset, that thinking process, his style of interaction with his team will change. So you have multiple styles of leadership being operating in any industry. Now in that repertoire, he will also have a coaching style and we expect him to use that coaching style more often. And that will shift the culture. The other thing that we wanted to change was, we also had a lot of juniors who idolize and look up to their bosses and they think, the smartest boss is the one who has got all the answers. Now we are getting into a terrain where the boss doesn't have the answer, so what does he do? Does he appear to be dumb? Or not in control? That becomes an issue. So we wanted to create a culture where people get comfortable with not knowing, and people get comfortable with asking questions and exploring, co-creating solutions. So that was the other thing that we wanted to do. So what would happen was when people have more coaching conversations, the juniors also started getting used to a conversation where they understand, boss, I just don't have to get the answer. I can work with my boss or I can work with my senior and we can co-create the solution. I can also contribute to that. And that itself is a very empowering thought. And that itself is very important for us from another perspective. Because we are a multi-generational organization. Unlike a lot of other organizations, most of us, we are what we call an academy organization. People join as a cadre, say, as management trainees, and they stay on, and all my board members are management trainees. They all started in E1, they all journeyed the same E2, E3, E4, and then gone on to become directors. And people retire after 34, 38 years, and most people, don't take any VR or we have very little attrition. Attrition in our context is nothing, and compared to what we see in the private sector. So you have multiple generations, we have second generation people working, we have, so what happens is, people of my generation and people of Gen Z coming in, their expectations from a boss, their expectations from a senior are very different. The leadership style that will work with them is very different. We've grown up with different kinds of leaders. We can't really transmit the same value system on them. These people need a greater voice, and they will not take anything they don't trust your wisdom. Show me the proof. As simple as that. So how do we really, get our people ready for that kind of generation, where they will have to let them find their own solutions? So that was the other thing that we were trying to do. So what we did was we created a pool of internal coaches. Again, in that journey, we started peer coaching. And in that process, we became good coachees also. So while we are training to be coaches, what we were becoming was also good coachees, because we were playing on pairs. And when we went back and we tried it with our team members, and you got some coaches to work on, we realized something very interesting. When we started taking in people as coaches, we said he should have a growth mindset, he should be empathetic, he should be a good listener. These are the orientations that we want. When we're looking at somebody who's looking at becoming a coachee, he should be, again, a good listener, he should be open to feedback, he should have a strong developmental orientation. Now, the interesting part is, most of us tend to overrate ourselves on these. It's only when you get into the process, you start realizing that actually I'm not that good a listener. Or I tend to miss the nuances when I'm having a conversation. So my EQ is not as high as I thought it, especially when you hit a wall with a coachee. Suddenly you don't know what to do with it. So what we did through this journey was, we also help people refine their capabilities to be empathetic leaders. So this is what was the experience of people as coaches and people as coaches. So we wanted to expand this. How do you really expand this? So we said, okay, now that we have understood that it is really important, we really need this kind of thing. And now we have developed a conviction about how to go about it. Let's start informing the whole organization about this. So we took up major interventions where we started sensitizing the whole organization about what coaching is, How is it different from mentoring, from counseling, from formal training also, or from performance consulting? We have some internal performance consulting work going on. In which context does coaching work best? We also had to warn people about, that hammer and nail problem, that when I get a hammer, everything is a nail. So coaching is not a solution to every problem that you had. So what we did was we conducted a lot of workshops for our people just on this aspect. Please understand what coaching is and why we need the shift to coaching, and what's in it for the individual, what's in it for the boss of the person who's getting coached, and what's in it for the department or the organization that's using it. How does it shift the culture? So a lot of people were made sensitive and literate to the concepts. So we carried out a series of such workshops with all those people. Again, because we realized that not everybody will have the same kind of finesse, but at least the others will be literate to what these guys are doing. Otherwise, again, in a system where people are saying, okay, throw me the problem, I'll give you the answer. When somebody asks you 4 questions, we don't want other people getting the impression that he is asking questions because he is buying time or he is hedging for something he doesn't know the answer. So that can happen many a times. So people had to start believing if somebody is asking questions, that means he's actually actively listening and trying to help you arrive at a solution. So we did a lot of those workshops, and then we started expanding it to a process by which we said we'll develop more coaches and organize more coaching. And that's what we are going to do right now. This is a work in progress. We'll go for cascading of this process into larger circles. Because once a sapling is there, it's grown a little bit, now you can figure out, okay, now let us grow it. So that's what we try to do in our organization. And again, you have to appreciate why it's important for us. We are an organization of, even at this point of time, after a lot of downsizing, 50,000 people. So you can't really try an experiment en masse with 50,000 people. And especially from a psychological perspective, a very dangerous experiment like coaching. You'll appreciate why I said a dangerous experiment. Then again, the challenge was, where will you find the maximum difficulty to being coached? It's always at the top. The seniors would have an issue, because being a coachee is also taking the risk of being vulnerable. So how do I really open up? And how do I throw open a dilemma? So we understood that those are sensitivities that we had. Then we realized that maybe for their comfort level, let's not keep things in-house. Let's also involve external professionals to help them through their journey. And that's where we said, okay, fine, let's expand the horizon and get some panel of coaches to coach our senior level people. So once people were literate to the concept, we floated this idea to a lot of our senior people, started with executive directors who are just next to the board. We'll close it. And then with these people, we again got them connected with coaches, got them through a process, and their coaching process has started. Once the EDs are covered, we'll start working with the CGMs, which is essentially, okay, my levels, and then we'll take it downwards. But again, as I said, when we are looking at the whole picture, when I am developing a person as a coach, or when I am developing a person as a coachee, what I am doing is, I am creating a personal space for growth. I am creating avenues for vertical growth. I am creating capacities for solving adaptive problems. And I am actually creating a developmental process which has the characteristics of mass customization. Coaching is a very specific, personalized kind of process. But the process of coaching a critical mass of your people and embedding that habit in your leadership is a collective cultural transformation exercise. And that is how we are connecting the individual transformation to the cultural transformation. And that is this spiral of connecting the individual to the organizational that we are taking forward. And I'm sure going forward, new things will happen. A lot of things I can't predict, but we're looking forward to the journey. So I think that's all I would have to say at this point of time. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much, sir, for sharing your most valuable time and insights with all of us. Yes, that's true that you are taking people right from literacy to finesse, playing on players for co-creating solutions and bringing in that relevant strategic perspective for what's in for me, right from the executives to the operational level employees. Thank you so much, sir, for sharing your insights. Truly, they say that coach are the ones who fill the knowing-doing gap. And therefore, today, thank you so much, sir, for bringing in those essential insights wherein sale is going to definitely sail in everyone's life a bit more. So today onwards, yes, may I please call upon Anupam Arun sir, country head C-Vent, to please felicitate our valued speaker for the day. That's Mr. Sanjay Dhar, Chief General Manager, HR, Learning and Development, MTI Sale. Can we have a huge round of applause, please? Thank you so much, sir. Now coming towards the power-packed session of the entire day today. Yes, that's the panel discussion where we are going to have 4 stalwarts from different zones, different industries, going to come together here on the stage. Well, now that these technical elements are going to take place, in the meantime, I would like to introduce these 4 experts who are going to enlighten you ahead. So yes, we hold your neuro bells as we are going to have this trailblazing session by these 4 honchos who are going to come from the worlds of aviation, bank assurance, management consulting, and definitely the mindfulness. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome on stage Ms. Neha Arora, Senior Director, HR at ZS. So may I please welcome Neha Arora, ma'am, Senior Director, HR at ZS. Can we have a huge round of applause for ma'am, please? She's helped many of those clients identify and uncloud their doubts in terms of money making. Talking next about and welcoming on the stage Mr. Bhushan Kulkarni, sir, the expert from ICICI Lombard, who architects learning curve for his employees so that they can stretch their performance to achieve their goals faster and better. Can we have a huge round of applause for him, sir? We welcome you, sir. And yes, please put your energy from your hands coming up for Mr. Vikrant Bhatnagar, sir, the learner forever who joyfully builds Air India of today for tomorrow. Can we have you on stage, please, sir? Very fortunate to have amongst us and the host for the day, who is also going to be the moderator, Mr. Gaurav Arora, sir, who is the part of xMonks and who inquires and inspires the journey of excellence in each and every individual. Can we please have you on the stage, sir? Maybe have a huge round of applause, please. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Jyoti. Professor Jyoti. Such a beautiful company I'm sitting in, and I've had the great privilege of sitting with all of them individually for dinners or lunches together. So that talks about that I'm in the safe hands, be it Vikrant, Bhushan or Neha. Thank you so much for being here. Today we are going to talk about the coaching mindset, shaping cultures of trust, growth and ownership. Now, why have we chosen these panelists? Not just because they are friends. They are here because the kind of work that they are doing in their respective organizations, be it Air India, a true sense, a transformative journey. In true sense, a case study that you can talk about when it comes to transformation from where they were a couple of years back to where they are today. Bhushan is the part of ICICI Lombard, and where we have had the great privilege of doing some bit of coaching work, be it creating the coaching culture, what Sanjayji was talking about. And it was an absolute joy going to Ranchi and then doing workshops there and making sure that leaders, they become transformed into coaches. Similar work we have done with ICICI Lombard. Also some bit of coaching that we are doing. And then of course Neha represents ZS. If you ask me, they are truly bringing coaching to the last leg. I mean, I'll not be wrong in saying that they would have maximum number of coaches in an organization. How many coaches do you have? 50 coaches?
Slightly less than that, but yes. The pure coaching.
Mike. Yeah.
That is true. I think ZS was one of the original players in the coaching field and really created a very large coaching setup with professional coaches, not just for executive coaching from day one for every employee. So I think, yes, the investment was amazing.
And we take pride in saying that we as Ericsson has been able to have been able to find inroads in all the three organizations. Such a pleasure, privilege, honor. Thank you. Okay, so let's start when we are talking about coaching mindset. You know, coaching mindset is one. Sanjayji spoke about growth mindset. We spoke about a mindset where we are open. One of the values that I heard somebody spoke about is listening. The challenge comes when we have to put mindset into action. How does that mindset, coaching mindset, show up in action in your organization? So let's start with Neha. And then we'll move to Bhushan and then Vikrant.
Right. My journey with coaching started as a coachee. And I knew I had to change a few things about myself, but I never had the intent for it, right? And I think as a coachee, that created that awareness in me that I need to change if I want to change things around me. And a little bit later, I was given the opportunity to go through a coaching certification, and I was one of the most reluctant participants because in the day-to-day of HR, you're like, oh my God, how am I going to get 60 hours out? But, I think those 60 hours were most transformational in my life. And I think that's where something shifted in me when you talk about coaching mindset. Because one of the biggest learning for me was that coaching is very self. It creates it ignites a lot of self in terms of what do I want to do with myself and how do I come across and how do I change things around me. The second thing I think what it did is I had certain goals and I used to fail every day 9 out of 10 times. But because there was so much of my own mindset that it had ignited to change, I would still go the next day and make an effort to change. And that to me is a coaching mindset which creates a lot of domino effect, right? And at ZS, when we assign a coach to everybody or when everybody is a coach, right? We have coaches in business, we have coaches in HR. I think that intentionality of what are you changing and creating individuals to change within has so much of a cascading effect of how they want to come across to others. And because you can't change others, I was resonating with what Mr. Srivastav said, Mr. Dhar said. They created a need for that change, right? And then you pay it forward. I think that to me is a coaching mindset, which starts with self, and then you can cascade it throughout the organization.
Yeah. And it definitely begins from who you are as an individual. The 68 hours of program that we have, I'll not be wrong in saying that we spend almost like 30 to 35 hours only on that self journey. And people wonder, why are we spending so much time on self? And what is it? It has to do with the competencies that we are talking about. And I tell them that, ask me the same question 3 years from now. Ask me the same question 5 years from now. Because during that journey, a lot would shift. Let's hear from Bhushan. Bhushan, how does the coaching mindset show up in action in your organization?
Yeah, it starts with an individual. I agree with Neha, because it started with me as an individual, and then it has that cascade effect into the organization. You have to have a personal conviction is something that I believe, and that comes through your own journey. So when I started with my coaching journey, the 64, 68 hours that Gaurav was talking about, I did that. I diligently started practicing and had the rigor of completing those 100 hours and all of that. But I realized that it wasn't sufficient. So hence I did another 68 hours. So I mean, in Ericsson parlance, they call it as M3 and M4, module 3 and module 4. That is when I think something started shifting for me, not in the initial 68 hours. And I realized that if my leaders, right, if they get some flavor of it, or not all of them would want to do 68 hours, not all of them would want to, go through that individual journey to begin with, right? But as the chief learning officer, as the custodian of this, if I am convinced, how do I introduce that mindset? And to those people who have built the organization. Now, the organization is one of the leading organizations in general insurance space in India, which means as a leader, you have that orientation that I created it. Some of them, would lead the divisions or departments, which is equal to the revenue of the bottom 5 companies within our country. Now, you carry that kind of a mindset, okay? And now here I am trying to tell them, come on, reflect, think, and all of that. I mean, with that kind of a speed and with that kind of possibly some amount of ego that comes along with it, it's difficult. But we kind of define few principles, saying open, curious, and flexible. That was more of an internal thing in line with, ICF definition of coaching mindset. I said, how do I help my leaders build that mindset? And eventually, one of the things we had to do was to establish the ROI equivalent of it. While I personally don't believe that everything you have to go and talk to the leadership of ROI, and I don't do that. And as we go along, maybe, and if the opportunity allows today or otherwise, over break, I can tell you that I will go to my senior management and I'll not talk about ROI at all, and I'll still get approvals. Fortunately, I'm blessed. It's less of me and more benevolence of my organization leadership. But coming back to this specific question, then how do I build that? So we created a framework called as ROAR, ROAR, and with that as a framework, and then I'll fold that framework as we go along and open a few more things today for the audience. That helped me build that coaching mindset. Effectively, that framework built me establish an ROI equivalent kind of a thing for why leaders should go for coaching. Number one, why should they have open, curious, and flexible mindset? We were able to kind of quantifiably and qualitatively give answers to the organization, and that's how we have been able to build it. And I'll unpack it for you, what ROAR meant and how do we kind of put that together in practice. What succeeded and what failed, that also I would be very happy to share.
Done. Thank you. Now, for Vikrant, let me just give a spin to the question, Vikrant. You're working for Air India, and it has been a case study in the making. When you are talking about mindset, especially for an organization like Air India, of course, ZS has been able to implement coaching. ICICI Lombard has been able to implement coaching. Air India is implementing coaching. The kind of challenges that you have experienced, how have you been able to address those challenges while embedding in the coaching mindset?
So when we talk of challenges, of course, all of you would have been witness to the Air India story in the past few years, either as customers or as inquisitive audience or as citizens of the country or as all of these combined. You would appreciate the fact that this kind of a transformation, and at least in an organization like Air India, would obviously be taking time, and it cannot happen overnight. And the the management was also mindful of this, and as a result of that, very early on, there was a 5-year plan which was created. Our current managing director and CEO, Mr. Wilson Campbell, this was his brainchild, and this is called Vihan.ai, and it's all over in public space, and you can read about it. So it was a 5-year journey that was planned, and it had 3 milestones, of which we have crossed 2, and we are in the 3rd milestone, which is going to be a 3-year journey. So we have completed 1 year of that. Now, during this, if you talk of the challenges, one is, of course, the big business challenge which was there, to transform the national carrier to become a profitable, modern age private organization. And that too in an industry like aviation, where you run your life on a daily basis by the flight. Every single flight and every single customer is a moment of truth. So you do not have that liberty that, okay, we are transforming, we have shutters down, and once we are transformed, we'll have the shutters up and we'll come out transformed. We can't do that. So it's almost like you are in a Formula 1 race, and you have to change tires, and you don't even have opportunity to stop at the pit stop. You don't even have those 8 seconds with you. You have to literally change those tires while running and trying to win that race. So that's a big business challenge, and that actually impacts every other thing. So it creates challenges, and it also impacts the way you try and address the other challenges. So that's one. The second is the fact that the airline, in order to, or the organization, in order to run and get transformed, you also need to quickly hire talent from outside. So that when you are expanding, you need that talent and you have that talent. So that has been, and when you do that, and the airline industry in itself in the country has been, to that extent, to that limited size. So at least in the industry agnostic roles, you cannot be too dependent on the aviation industry talent itself. You have to get from other industries, and then you have to train them, you have to skill them almost overnight to start working as effective, skilled aviation professionals. So that's the second challenge that we had. The third challenge was the fact that there was also the integration between Vistara and Air India, which was going to happen. And that also has been a more than a year-long process because of the various regulatory guardrails which were there and the milestones that one was required to cross. And the fact that all of these things have happened in a matter of less than 4 years, that in itself is a global benchmark. So none of the airline industries have got integrated, have got transformed so fast. And that in itself is an indicator of the fact that how things would have been done and how the challenges would have cropped up and how those would have been addressed. Now I'll come to, referencing it for the coaching mindset that we are talking about. In this journey, as a result of that, today, if we see the organization, it has got it's like a potpourri of different cultures. So you have, the erstwhile Air India employees who are there and the managers. We have people who have been taken from different other industries. We have employees from Vistara. We have employees who were also taken from other aviation sector companies. So you have a mix of cultures and of course a mix of points of view on how people should be managed, because when people are coming from different organizations and before you create a common language, you would obviously have that period when they are having a different mindset, different skill set, and they are trying to work with that till you actually give them a new language. Now, while you do that, is that possible that you immediately get into something that, okay, we are going to create a coaching mindset, we have so many people managers, let's train everybody and let's get the thing going? Absolutely not, because probably you'd be headed for disaster. So what you have to essentially do is create a foundation, and that foundation also is not a quarter-long or a year-long process. You have to put in various steps together to create that foundation. To first create a learning environment where everybody is wanting to learn. You also create processes and systems by which managers are encouraged actually to invest in the development of the people. The responsibility of L&D over there lies in actually offering those kind of learning interventions which are available, and the managers, if they want to invest in their people, they can actually nominate those. Then you start investing in people manager capability development so that everybody is skilled on the same baseline and they are able to talk the same language. In between this, one of the other things that we have also done is to try and get the manager involved in the person's development beyond just nomination. So we are trying to actively see how we can engage managers by first telling them what is it that the individual is going through in the training program. Because if you expect that the individual goes through some program and the manager supports at the workplace the transfer of learning, the manager first should know what did the individual learn. So we are investing in that. And this actually is going to create a foundation for what then we can start the skilling and the mindset. So that's where we are.
Thank you. And building a coaching culture is not at all a 1 year, 2 year, 1 month, 2 months or 6 months journey. It's a very rigorous process. We are talking about changing the soil in which you are planting all the saplings. Not at all easy. Because we all come from our own biases, as we all know it. I've been involved in some project with PNB, and we know the kind of rigor that we have to go through when you're sitting in front of a CGM and the chief general manager is bringing a challenge that you have never even thought about. How would you address that? How are you going to address that? This is exactly what happens. Things start to tremble and everything comes down. Now we have to build it again. That's the beauty, right? Coming back to Nehai. Nehai, you have, as you mentioned, you have got so many coaches internally. One of the challenges that I've heard is, and I've heard it from a few of your coaches, कि यार गौरव घर की मुर्गी दाल बराबर. You know what? People would be very happy to go to somebody, pay through their nose, and then get coached, than being coached with us. How do you address this issue? And this is very much a part of creating a culture.
You're right. And I think we also went through a bit of a journey at ZS, right? We grew very rapidly during COVID, clocking a 30% growth, doubled our headcount. And I think that's when we started feeling the pain. We did build a very executive coaching kind of practice. But at scale, how do you still be effective? Maybe we should remove it. Yeah. So how do you still kind of be, I think one of the challenges we faced was how do you still be effective at scale, right? And we've pivoted our own coaching model since then to split it a little bit by levels, right? There is a question, many of your HR practitioners here, right? And there is a question we fill up in a lot of surveys. It says, do I feel valued as a person? And do I feel valued as a person, right? And in my earlier years, I used to often wonder, what does it mean? Like there is a role, there is an ask, and all of us deliver to that. And I think with my evolution over years, I realized that when people walk in, they come with their own expectations. They don't leave themselves outside. They don't hang the coat outside. They come with the whole self, right? And so people don't come in boxes. And at different life stages, the needs are very, very different. So what we've done is we've pivoted the model a little bit. Because we have a coaching for all, like it starts very early on, we've created a team called Talent Advisors because we have a very large fresher strategy. So when people are just starting their career as engineers, fresh and wanting to do consulting, what they need to know is how to navigate the organization. How do they integrate? Some of the questions when I do some mock-ups with them early on in the pre-boarding is, hey, when I walk in, should I call somebody a sir or ma'am? Right? The questions are very, very basic in nature. The kids, Gen Zs, brought up a certain way. So we pair them up with somebody called Talent Advisors, and they generally own their first year journey of integrating with the organization. Talking about, and people are very impatient at times. Hey, this work doesn't sound very exciting. I thought I'm going to do X, Y, Z in consulting. Listen, I'm doing coding, right? There is a lot of real changes that we see. And this conversation with Talent Advisors just keeps them anchored. Like, you have to put in your hours. Like, you don't get to do strategy consulting from day one. So that's one strategy that we have. Then we also realize that at the moment they get, and we are a very fast 6-level company, people move very fast, we have very, very young principals. But the moment they're able to pivot, spend 2 years, pivot in 2 to 3 years to the next level, their need suddenly changes, because that's when at a very young age, they become people managers. And then, they are providing the connect to managing a set of people as well as to the senior leadership, right? And that's when our executive coaches start playing a role. Again, we pair them up both, like there is somebody who's looking at their day-to-day project and coaching. And then, further up when they go at a manager level, which is a fairly senior level for us, things become even more tough, because then, some realizations happened about what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are. I think that's when the real executive coaching starts. So that's when we have very specific programs like PACE program, and they self-enroll and start working on their own needs. So I think coaching changes shape and form with levels. And we also realize that, like a typical in any Indian firm, the pyramid for women in leadership narrows down substantially. We start off with like a 33% diversity representation, but the moment we hit leadership level, it dwindles down. So as part of our equity programs, we also have certain programs which predominantly coach women leaders, how to network, how to create a personal brand beyond anything. Because the people we hire are very smart. They're of the same caliber, right, irrespective of gender, but there is something that shifts in their life space. So I think that's been our learning, to create a little more personalization of, and the needs are not the same. You try to talk very heavy words with a 23-year-old engineer. They're like, what are you talking? Like, I don't understand what this is all about. So that's been our journey over time. Yeah.
One of my earliest lessons in the space of culture is the way you show up and the language that you use. The way you show up and the language that you use. And if we start to speak a language that people don't even understand, it's going to fall flat on the face. Now, here's a question for Bhushan. Bhushan, would it be a fair assumption to make that primarily insurance industry is sales-led?
Indeed it is.
It is,
yes.
okay. Now, in sales-led, the only thing that matters is numbers. Now, what kind of practice have you been able to imbibe in already, or are you planning to bring in the culture that would allow these salespeople understand the importance of empathy, listening, care, giving a rope? Because I struggle when I deal with my sales team members. I struggle. So yesterday somebody asked me, Gaurav, how big the ropes you should give to the other person?
Very difficult question.
I wrote so many questions, I've forgotten all the questions. Yeah, so sorry.
Very difficult question, but there was a start. And Gaurav, you have been kind enough to come and engage with the senior leadership on the coaching, the importance of it, building few practices and all of that. So one of the things I did consciously is not to bring in all 8 competencies that ICF recommends at one go for my leaders. Okay, so we picked up 2. Why did I pick up 2? Whatever I picked up, internal research and external research saying, how can I integrate or marry two things together? One is something that they will need in their daily work as managers and as leaders. And by the way, that also kind of is recommended coaching competencies. So we picked up two competencies. Then it was not very different. So in the flow of work was one of the very important principles that I followed as step number one. Right? So irrespective whether you are from sales or non-sales, if you are at a leadership level, you anyway need this. As a good manager or as a good leader, you need these two competencies. Now, what were those two competencies out of 8 that are recommended by ICF? The first one was listening. Okay? Very difficult because impatience, and I come to office, I'm paid for giving answers, not listening. If that's the mindset, then it's something ulta that we were talking about, presumably, right? And the second competency that we asked or we kind of picked up is ability to ask questions. So questioning. So 2 competencies, and we kind of took people deep into it. The second apprehension was coaching is a slow process. And one of the principles that I tried talking about is slow is the new fast in coaching. So while as practitioners of coaches, we may believe in heart and heart, other people will feel it as, okay, you're saying, so I'm listening, but I'm not convinced. And that is what we saw in the body language, that slow is the new fast. Till the time you experience it substantially, you won't believe this statement. So what we had to do is to tell them that can coaching happen in 10 minutes flat? Or will coaching always take 60 to 90 minutes? That was a question we debated. And we convinced them that a water cooler conversation also can be a very powerful coaching conversation, and it can happen in 10 minutes. And one of the teachings that when I was going through the session and Gaurav was facilitating those sessions for us, and he always said that meet the coachee where the coachee is, literally and figuratively. So when you're at a cooling, that conversation, we told leaders that meet him or her where the person is. He may have a problem of that monthly variable money not getting credited into his account. And you're like, aaj to main coaching sikha ke rahunga. Won't work. Start there. Right? And when people understood that, they started integrating that. So convincing that a shorter version also can be coaching. Meet the coachee where the coachee is, which means understand what he is talking, listening, right? And evolve that conversation. So these things perhaps are helping. Have we reached there? No. What have we kind of struggled with? When the session happened, leaders as a coach and managers as a coach, we did those programs, 2 competencies, gone deep into it with practices. I said, how do we sustain this? Workshop to ho gaya, right? It can't be the end of all, right? So we created shorter, accountability groups of 3. Okay, saying, okay, you directly can't go and do a live performance match. No, you tend to fail, and fail it in a safe environment, and that's okay. That can be a very good step. Okay, so 3 of us can come together, talk to each other, fail, and fine. That's okay. And I thought we changed the world. We kind of created a great idea, fantastic. Now everything will change. After 3 months, when I kind of started looking at the data, hardly anything moved. People never came together to practice it because that fear of failure, after having led successful teams and having my successful career, is so high that it's not easy for any manager or a leader to kind of get into that space and be willing to fail. But we kind of experienced it, found some solution, and that ROAR thing that I spoke about, ROAR, the first R we said is reception, right? Is the person receiving the concept? Is coaching as a concept is something that the person is intellectually kind of getting inside. In the blood we'll figure out later, but at least intellectually is he receptive? So that first R of the ROAR is reception, and we defined few things. I mean, time is really short, but then I would anyway go deep as and when you want it. But that's how we started. about it.
Just thank you. So receptive was the first one, and we'll come to you, ROAR as well. It's, you know, it's not a coincidence that in Arora you've got all the R's, and it's not at all a coincidence. You know it, right? So last question from Vikrant, because we've got the paucity of the time, and I'm going to ask one question from him, and then one of you can ask any one question. You know, the culture shift that we are experiencing at Air India is from compliance to commitment. Compliance is that you have to do it, tuck. Commitment comes when you are influenced and totally aligned with your values. How have you been able to leverage any of the competencies that could be an overlap between coaching and that competency and bring that shift with the existing old team members, employees of Air India?
Yeah, I think you would have heard this statement that building Air India is building India. And I think the sense of purpose is something which can be the most energizing thing whenever we are talking of moving things from compliance to commitment. So I think that overarching vision that the group has created, our chairman talks about, creating a world-class airline with an Indian heart. I think that is one big rallying cry which everybody carries in the organization in their hearts. And I think that actually solves most of the problems. I'm not saying, you know, the problems are solved in terms of talking about how to move people from compliance to commitment. It's, I think, that vision, that energizing vision, and the opportunity to be a part of that change. I think that is something which is extremely encouraging. And I think what most leaders actually do, and what people managers also do, is to get away in between, they don't stand in between the vision and the employee, and let the employee associate himself or herself with the vision and carry that out.
Now, that's a humongous task. You know, when you're saying that we don't stand in between the employee and the vision, it's a humongous task, because most of us are standing between ourselves and our visions. And if you can only unhook where we are stuck, we'll be able to fly high. Let's take one question from the audience. Any question that you may have from anyone. Arindam.
This is not much of a question, it's more of a vent. But if I get any insight, I'll be very, very grateful. My vent is this. A couple of years ago, I was part of a very large multinational Korean organization. And globally, this is not just in India, there was a huge effort in trying to build a coaching culture. So about 25 accredited coaches from within the organization got together. We created a new coaching formula, etc., etc. And 3 years, we kept at it. And this whole thing failed. A lot of individuals may have got benefited by the skills they developed or the things they developed. But if I look back at those 3 years and now, the culture has completely rejected the whole concept of coaching per se. My hypothesis, and therefore there is the question in that hypothesis, is that coaching fundamentally, as we say, it is a conversation between equals. Our Indian ethos, our entire Southeast Eastern ethos is extremely hierarchical. We are hardwired into hierarchies, whether it is Confucianism, whether it is Hinduism, it's entirely hierarchical. Organizations are hard-bound hierarchical. when you're challenging this entire concept of hierarchy with a concept which says this is a conversation between equals, how do you reconcile the two? And what is to be learned from this failure of this organization, which literally spent, I think, $2.5 million trying to build this culture in? No, we did it internally. Yeah, but it didn't work. So I'm just taking the insight of the folks here. Yeah.
So I think Vikrant would be the best person because he is dealing with that kind of transition. So
I'll make an attempt. I have very little info or no information to be able to talk why probably something would have failed. But I would try and reflect upon this entire thing about coaching culture. And maybe in case if there are certain things which resonate, maybe. I would put forward 3 points, drawing from what you mentioned. So first of all, if we talk of culture and any kind of culture, the basic premise that we always have is that there are values. Values create behaviors. Behaviors create results or outcomes. Consistent behaviors create consistent outcomes, and that's how a culture gets built. So a culture gets built from every single constituent entity. It could be a conversation, it could be the way I speak, the way I deliver things to my customer, every single transaction, every single activity, every single conversation. Now, if that be the case, if we have to change the culture, we have to start changing every single conversation of the manager. If we are talking about creating a coaching culture over here. And you rightly said that coaching is a conversation between equals. And the fact actually is that they are equals. Because both people who are participating in that conversation are human beings. And if in that conversation, if every other layer of association of that human beings is removed, and the two people are able to have a conversation as human beings, it would be a coaching conversation, because both of them would be present over there as complete individuals, fully present, fully aware, completely listening to each other, and that conversation can obviously be transformative. We have all experienced those kind of conversations, and irrespective of the fact whether the other person was skilled in the art and science of coaching or not doesn't matter. A lot of times, if the individual has just listened, that conversation has been transformative for both individuals. So I would firmly believe that, yes, it is of those two individuals. And I think any intervention which can enable those people to be individuals and bereft of any other tags attached to them, I think that would be a great coaching conversation. So that's the second. And the third thing, which I've always personally believed in that, is that whenever we are talking about creating a coaching culture, I firmly believe, and many of you may actually disagree with me, that it is not about creating coaches. It is not about creating coaching skills in managers. It is about creating an ability to have coaching conversations. So how can we change a review conversation into a coaching conversation? How can we make a manager believe that the title of the manager is not to manage or as manager, but the title is actually a coach? And how can we enable the manager that just before the conversation to become consciously aware, change the hat of the review or the manager, wear the hat of the coach, and be able to just do two things: be mindful and present, and to be able to listen. So which also means that he doesn't have to talk. So I'll stop talking now on this particular response.
Thank you. Thank you. And Arvind, when we are talking about it happens between two people who are equal, it has got nothing to do with hierarchy. When Neil started calling me Gaurav, I was so happy. And then society happened to her. And the whole system got disrupted. Ask the question who has been trained in becoming a coach. And depends entirely on to what kind of training, rigor, piousness, sacredness, profoundness one has gone through. What does coaching mean to you? For somebody it could be space. For somebody it could be ego diffuser. For somebody it could be a perspective, somebody who can expand perspective. What does coaching mean to you? It's a very prominent question. And why are you in coaching is a question that I ask everyone on every single hour of every single program that one goes through. And it's very important to revisit, as important as taking a bath on day-to-day basis. Because the moment you call yourself a coach, your ego has already gone several folds up. Without realizing, it's actually an ego diffuser. And we live in a culture where we give each other steroids. A friend of mine, he's in Bangalore. The moment I would call him, he said, Master Coach Gaurav, tell me. I'll feel so great about myself. But in that moment, he has actually injected me with toxins. I said, भाई मेरे को छोटा भाई बोल दिया कोच मत कभी कभी तो कोचिंग गाला सुनना कोच सुनना गाली लगती है. Connect with me where you are. Connect with me where I am. Of all the people sitting here, I've had heart-to-heart conversation where somebody has said that I'm dealing with some dogma dilemma with my daughter. I'm dealing with somebody because my mom moved on. I'm dealing with somebody because my wife moved on. I'm dealing with somebody, I'm in the transition of a career for myself and I don't know how to handle that. There's somebody who's saying that, hey Gaurav, I'm stuck in the career. I don't know how to manage that. Can we meet them where they are? And above that, I would strongly recommend you to have a conversation with Pavanji. Pavanji is leading L&D for Punjab National Bank. He's here. And of course, Sanjay ji, they'll talk about in the hierarchical culture in PSU, how do you bring in coaching? That's a task. Super, I'm going to hand it over to Professor Jyoti. Thank you so much and thank you so much Neha and Bhushan and Vikrant for being such kind panelists.
Thank you so much, panel, for helping us understand the cultures of empowering teams can be built faster and stronger, but yes, with the right coaching mindset. So thank you so much, panel, for sharing those moments of truth and for felicitating the knowledge nuggets that you've just shared. May I call upon Air Vice Marshal Samuel, sir, Director, International Business Development, Boeing India Defense, to please felicitate our panelists. Well, in order of the... Well, in order to thank, we'll begin with the queen on the stage of the panel, that's Neha Arora ma'am, who's mentioned that people don't come in boxes, and how do I deal with when I feel significant or insignificant? So how to handle self-sabotage? Well, conversations calendar can be planned. Next, we thank Bhushan Kulkarni, sir, the expert from ICICI Lombard, who mentioned that ability or apprehension, how to deal with fear of failure. And yes, not to deal with, but before you deal with, you have to ensure that you consider it dear. Well, the slow is the new fast. Can we have a huge round of applause for sir, please? Next, we thank the compliance to commitment cycle. We thank Vikrant Bhatnagar, sir, the expert from Air India. May we please have a huge round of applause, please. Thank you, sir. While the panel descends, we are still going to go with our story of glory and keep that energy coming up from your mindsets as we talk about that eyes are the new health. And yes, we are going to now proceed towards hearing from Dr. Neeraj Sanduja, Senior Consultant Ophthalmologist and Vitro Retina Specialist, who is going to mention that health is in your hands. Over to you, sir.
The slides. Good evening, everyone. I'll be discussing something very important about your eyes and how eyes are important for effective leadership. So next one. We all know that our eyes are windows to the outside world. What we see around, it gives you the beauty of those memories, those images, and it gives you a crystal clear vision what is happening around. Next one. So basically, visionary leadership. I'm coming for the first time in this forum where so many leaders, coaches are around, and it is my first experience. So I would like to tell you what an ophthalmologist, what an eye specialist thinks from vision perspective for you, entrepreneurs, coaches. We are talking about this new idea, exploring a new idea, how healthy vision forms the foundation for effective leadership. What happens if your vision is not good, you are not able to see clearly, so you feel pessimist, you don't feel you are seeing around and you are not able to channelize your energy to what you want to become. Next one. So why vision matters? You can see our vision is one of the most important sensory organs, which gives almost 80 to 90% of the perception around us. So this is how much it is important. And vision, it impacts your decisions making also, because if you're not able to see clearly, you don't know how you want to channelize your thoughts, what you want to convey to other people. And if your vision impairment happens, then your confidence also decreases. Your presence for the other people also goes down. Next one. And common eye issues that affect anyone. It is most of the time we are on the screen. So when we are on the screen, whole day we are sitting in front of screen phones. So our eyes go into digital eye strain, our eyes start watering, and we are not able to perform well. And other things, we have presbyopia after 40 years of age. Means we are not able to see clearly for near objects because of loss of accommodation. So it means we are able to do something, putting a lot of strain and getting into headache, watering, redness in eyes. So it is very important to know what problem you are going to face. And other thing is, we have a problem like glaucoma, which is called silent thief of the eyesight. And India has become you can say, like one of the largest population of diabetics we have in India out of the world. So you can see almost one patient after age of 50 years is diabetic out of 4 patients. 25% patients, they are pre-diabetic or diabetic. And this diabetes is a silent killer of eyesight, just like glaucoma. So it is very important if you're diabetic, you are having family history of glaucoma, or you're 40 years of age, you should go for your regular eye checkup so that you can transform your life into an effective leader. Next one. So it is very important to have proactive eye health approach to be a better leader. So you should have your regular eye checkups. In case any glaucoma or any diabetes is there, you should get your eyes checked for diabetic retinopathy checkup. Next one. And we need to lead with vision. We should schedule our comprehensive eye check regularly, and we should encourage our team to do also, and we should make eye health a priority. And we should see, just to become a good leader, we must to lead well, we must see well. This is what is important. And for effective leadership, you need to have good vision so that, because if you're not able to see well, you cannot coach anybody. You cannot see properly. And all these kind of things can be prevented very well in time. Because if you have glaucoma, if it is a silent thief of eyesight, you have diabetes, and even physicians also don't tell you, like, you should get your retina checkup annually done. So I would say, like, to have healthy vision, we should have healthy mind also, healthy body also, and you should take care of your health, mental health, physical health, and eye health also. Next one. Thank you for your kind attention.
Thank you so much, sir, for sharing that leadership comes with lots of care, not only for people and but for their lives, and definitely start with eyes. May I please request you, sir, to please come over for this, come over onto the stage. I request Mr. Gaurav Arora, sir, a part of the xMonks, to please felicitate, sir. Can we have a huge round of applause for Neeraj, sir, please? Well, handle people with care, handle relations with care, and definitely emotions. Now we are going to listen from Anupam Arun, sir, who is the country head with CVent, coaching as a catalyst for growth, agility, and people-centric leadership. Now, the story is going to be really complex, and in order to simplify, may I call upon sir, maybe please welcome sir with a huge round of applause, please.
All right, give me a minute to just set up. Being a corporate guy, you can't be without your laptop, right? You can sometimes just feel very inadequate, so just give me a sec as I set this up. All right, thank you for that introduction. I am between you and dinner, and Gaurav has already reduced my time, so if I speak a little fast, you know who to blame. Appreciate that kind introduction and the opportunity to share my experience over 3 decades in people management and leadership. Now, to start with, I'm a proverbial middle-class Indian. Okay, I was raised in the small town of Prayagraj, been in the news quite a lot. My parents were university professors. I got university education, no Ivy League, no credentials. Yet, if I can say it myself, I've been blessed to be what they call destiny's child. Let me explain. So, I started my career in 1995, and here's a quick snapshot of my career. Despite not having anything special, I was fortunate to go through tremendous growth, promotions, C-suite titles, had the privilege of being a board member since 2005. Each stage of my career has been humbling and rewarding. Over these 30 years, knowingly or unknowingly, coaching has been a key in enabling growth and success. So I learned many lessons, as you would imagine. One of the most powerful one being that I wanted to share. In a marathon career, I experienced that you need to choose the time to pace up and, more importantly, the time to pace down. If you really want a marathon and a career, not just a string of jobs, and if you want the trajectory to be in that direction, it is very important. Think F1, fastest racing machines, most top-end technology, they all need pit stops. So I took my pause in 2017. I took a full year off the corporate race to educate and question myself. And what was the top of my mind? It was all about leadership, which I've been a very passionate follower and student. To me, the conundrum at that point was, is leadership all about being a top performer and a decorated manager? The things that organizations promote financially, status-wise, everything in the organizational world, in the capitalistic world, is directed towards better performance tomorrow than yesterday. And that's naturally the leadership you cultivate. And that sort of, after whatever, 25 years at that point in time, was bothering me. So, one of my inspirations in that pause, almost 8 years back, was the Japanese philosophy which is called shuhari. I hope I've pronounced it correctly, but you'll probably get the essence. Now, Basically what it meant in brief was learn, detach, or unlearn, and therefore transcend. The critical thing here being, and when I got certified as a life coach, how do you evolve and reinvent yourself? How do you get to that part if it is so simple? And Japanese have a habit of putting things beautifully, very simply. Why is it so hard to do? What do you think is the critical barrier here? It is 3 simple letters: learn. All of us spend our lives, we all believe we are continuous learners. Detach and transcend. Why do we not end up transcending? Whether as individuals, as the society, as Gaurav said earlier, as a nation, where is the barrier? My personal experience, my transcending realization, you have to be ready to be in the unsafe space of detachment. That key word, because remember, whatever made us successful is what we hold on to like dear life. It is extremely threatening to think of changing anything that we believe made us successful. So after so many years, what I learned was a true leader is more about being a coach and mentor, especially as you move up the chain. There was a lot of conversation around why coaching fails. There was a lot of perspective around organizations wanting to build coaching practices, coaching culture. For me, it's very simple. Has to start at the top. When I went through my coaching journey, the first sentence I remember was, you don't come to coaching, coaching finds you when you are ready. So, are organizations, are boards looking for people who are ready? Are they really wanting transformation or quarterly results? What is the ask? What is the real value that we're trying to create, right? So, that was my journey. And, obviously it came through a bunch of smaller journeys over the number of years. Let me start with one that happened at the beginning of my career when I was with Bank of America. And that was my sort of first leadership story or learning, which was, after a very successful stint in sales in Delhi, I got promoted to be a regional sales manager. I started my career in sales, but in Chennai. So from Delhi, I literally boarded the Chennai Express, and my region was Hyderabad, Bangalore, Coimbatore, and Chennai. And remember, this was for someone who had never crossed Uttar Pradesh in terms of going south of India. So obviously, the challenges back in those days without Google or translation, you were in a land with a very different weather, culture, language, and of course, being a foodie, food. Right? However, as I realized after landing in Chennai, gaining acceptance as a young North Indian leader, with a lot of my colleagues and team members being much older, was tougher than all of the above put together. And herein lies one of those little if I may share nuggets. When we're trying to solve problems, somebody mentioned it, the art of breaking it down. More importantly, the art of thinking, what can I change? Could I have changed my team? The answer is no. Maybe over a period of time, but not when you've landed. Could you change anything in the environment? The answer is no. So what is it that it eventually breaks down to? You. So here was the sort of thought at that point in time, the thought of people centricity. Like we talk a lot about people centricity. That was my first experience, and thank God for getting to that early. And again, like a true Indian, I started with food. So from eating in my cabin, my regular North Indian fare, I decided I need to sit out in the canteen. I need to be a part of the team. Started enjoying curd rice, started understanding and embracing the local culture, because you have to be one of them. I even went as far as learning basic Tamil. And I cannot tell you the kind of impact it created. So back to the same point about learn, unlearn, everything that I had thought I knew about sales, about how you could become the #1 player in North India, completely unlearned that. Very unnerving, right? But then that is when you are able to transcend. And what are you trying to transcend? In that particular example, what do you think was the big transition, the transcending, the better version of yourself? What were you really trying to get to? Why do people fail? Where is the barrier? It's a one-letter word. Any hints? Let's make this a little two-way, because you get tired of hearing your own voice, right? Though we all love our voice, but any ideas? One word. The biggest barrier to transcending that I learned at that stage in my career, just one word. Fear. Anybody else? Ego. Ego. Who has the chair? Who has the title? Who's the decorated leader here? Me. Who's the boss? Me. Why would I come out of my cabin? Why wouldn't you come in and say hi to me? A lot of life in the corporate world, ladies and gentlemen, is spent in figuring this conundrum. Who will do this first? And obviously there's entitlement, because it's tough to come up the journey. That is why coaching is not a natural phenomena. The equality that we talk about is not a natural phenomena. It has to be cultivated, and great organizations do it beautifully. right? So it is not easy, cannot be taken for granted, have to go through the grind and personal experience of some anchoring philosophy that guides you. So, moving on, I learned that this sort of format of vision, strategy, execution, pretty much everybody knows it. Even junior level managers know it. You know that if you have a team and you are a people leader, we have all learned this, Kotler, management, MBA, you need the vision, you need the strategy, and you need to execute, correct? To me, the basic missing element, specifically if I may say so in our cultural context, which is hierarchical, as somebody said, is about the thing at the bottom, emotional quotient. Now, a lot has been written about EQ, a lot has been spoken about it, a lot has been YouTubed. Then why are so many leaders and organizations failing at it? Right? And I'll show it to you a little later as to why do I say that. For now, I hope you agree that we don't have that level of EQ that we all think we want to bring into the society, into the corporate world. Why? What is the big missing piece? It's as simple as this, should happen very naturally. Maybe we can give ourselves a little pat on the back because a lot of that has to do with the external environment. Now, when you're in sessions like these, it is very easy to forget that we live in an era of what I call once-in-a-lifetime crises. Nothing trained us probably when we were young professionals or getting into the workforce or at MBAs to deal with the kind of things that you see happening around the world as we speak, right? And each of these crises impact each industry, each company, each individual across the globe. There is an interconnectedness in this challenge, right? And therefore, there has to be an interconnectedness in the solution. It cannot be something that only works in the West or India has to drive. It is a globally connected situation, whatever happens, right? So, we know about the VUCA world. We all spoke a lot about that pre-pandemic, the volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. To me, I feel it is metamorphosed into what I called the new world order of Bani. I don't know if you've heard of this. Could you change the next slide, please? Environment is brittle, people are anxious, and the challenges we face are definitely non-linear and incomprehensible at times. Now, some of it, I hope you're able to relate to, but let me just try and go a little bit in detail into each of these. When you say brittle, what are we saying? The system that you are so basing everything on appears to be completely stable until they just suddenly collapse. It is a sudden collapse. It is like the Bhuj that you heard of, if you think of the imagery. So, again, I don't want to be dramatic, but the world economies, Bitcoin, stock markets, currency fluctuations, you look at it, there is a complete sense of brittleness. It is not something that you can put, like you have to be gingerly thinking, can I step on this or not? Whereas erstwhile, it was a given. Basic things in the environment and systems were very, very stable. That's how the world built trade. So, what does it need? What does it mean for us? I think it is now the time where the rigid control and the mentality of command and control has to move to trust-based anatomy. You have to get to giving autonomy to people so that it creates the psychological safety within our teams. The psychology of it drives most of it today. We spoke about motivation, we spoke about how do the employees take that change down to the front line. Cannot happen without first feeling psychologically safe, because look at what they're seeing, look at what they're experiencing every day. I mean, I promise all of us, if we did not look at our phones while I'm speaking and then looked at it after 10 minutes, there's almost a little bit of nervousness. I just did it and I saw there's a 7.4 magnitude earthquake in Argentina. Now again, that's not really a system, but that's the kind of world we're living in. So moving on, if you look at that kind of a system and that kind of a challenge outside, anxiety is natural. And in these times, it is very easy to get overwhelmed because of the amount of information. Think about AI. Like, you cannot go through any set of stimuli without hearing about AI. Nobody knows really how much of a change it's going to bring, our jobs at risk. So, when you become anxious, I think the emotional intelligence for leaders becomes the strongest tool. And what does that mean? We need to equip our leaders, our managers, people down the organization to recognize anxiety signals. Because people won't walk up to you and say, you know what, I read this about AI, I think my job is at risk. That is where your emotional intelligence has to identify that there's something not right in the way that this individual is interacting, there's something not right, whether it's a water cooler, whether it's a structured conversation. But our leaders have to be equipped because uncertainty is, in my mind, inevitable. any one of us who leaves this room, when Gaurav said we have to be uncomfortable, one of the things we have to be uncomfortable about is whatever we are doing right now is going to be done differently. We don't know about it. So you have to be transparent as a leader about what you know and what you don't. And in the good old days, we used to do root cause analysis. I'm sure all of us have heard this term. X happened, what was the factors that led to it, right? Today, you are not in a linear world anywhere. Can we move to the next slide? We're not in a linear world anymore. We are in a world where it is almost impossible to tie a single cause to an effect, right? The tariffs, when Mr. Trump came in, just think of the world before and this the day he came in, right? You don't know whether it was just this fact that he thought some countries are charging. It has been happening for years. So the geopolitical instability, what happened with the Hamas and the Israel situation, all of these are non-linear. They're happening because of multiple reasons. The trigger might be something different. The trigger might be one of them, but naturally it is happening because of multiple factors below the surface. So what does it take to be successful in this kind of a situation? I think within our corporate worlds, within our teams, when you know that there are non-linear factors at play, you have to expect failures. It's a tough thing to say because none of us want to fail. But you have to be open to creating an environment where experimentation is celebrated. Fail fast and fail furious, move on to the next thing. Nobody knows the right answer. Do we really as leaders feel open if somebody came to us and say, you know what, 50% chances, should I experiment with this? We'd be like, no. My point earlier, very difficult to detach yourself from something that you believe has made you successful. So, next slide. The last point is, when you are in this kind of an environment, Bani's last I stands for incomprehensible. You're not able to process the amount of information. You're not able to process what you have been taught, root cause analysis, cause and effect. All of those are out of the window. So to me, in these times, it's perfectly okay to be wrong. What is not okay as a leader is to be paralyzed by the fear of being wrong, right? So, leadership with humility, not heroics. Because heroics, as they say, can get you killed, right? Creating a space where questions are welcomed. People are okay to say, hey, why do we do this like this? Not because, hey, this is what made us successful. How dare you question this? It was always the Maharaja. No, things are changing. Times are changing, right? So, space where questions are welcomed, curiosity is rewarded, you are creating the vulnerability in the leadership that builds trust in the rest of the organization. It is incredibly hard to be vulnerable as a leader. But that is why the culture isn't strong. How often do you hear corporate leaders right at the top, when they're giving their quarterly results, when they're giving their shareholder board meetings, talk about what didn't work? How many of you read any article today in the Economic Times or anywhere that spoke about an experimentation that did not go well? So it's great to talk about these things, but then that is the reason why, if you want that people-first culture, you have to create the space and hold it so that the vulnerability can surface. And that is why the purpose of coaching, bringing it back to the topic, it is so important. To me, in the current environment, it is not a good to have. If you do not have it in your DNA, if you do not have it in your approach, if you do not have it in your culture, you are already heading towards disaster. So the faster you can get to it. And again, some of us may think a lot of this is theory. Here is how the ill effects of Bani have surfaced. And I'm sure everyone in the room has experienced one or the other. Think about it. Unheard of things. The Great Resignation in a country dealing with the kind of a lack of employment, especially graduate unemployment. You're hearing about the Great Resignation. How do you describe it? What is the root cause? What is the data here? How do you solve for it? So, knowing that that is the corporate environment, that's the environment that we have to deal with. Somebody said, the cards you are dealt with. I still feel, to bring it back to a little bit of optimism, that the essence of the human spirit has always triumphed. Multiple examples. Look at COVID. We thought the world is going to end, right? Essence of the human spirit. And as leaders, as people in this room, as the people who have the authority, I think we have to be the torch bearers of that spirit, because the quantum shift in leadership that I am experiencing is from managing people to genuinely connecting with people. Why is that connection important? Of course, there are a lot of softer aspects of it, but I'll talk about it in one very simple way. If you look at artificial intelligence, which irrespective of the industry you are in, irrespective of the business you are in, is going to be the way forward, is going to be a disruptive force, is already a disruptive force, if it isn't democratized, you will not be on the journey. Because naturally there's a pyramid of ignorance. With AI, whatever historical knowledge you had, whatever contextual knowledge you had, whatever you learned 30 years is completely irrelevant and is available on a click. So the person who's coming in the Gen Z, you don't have to blame them for not really respecting you straight out of the door. Why should I? Whatever you know, I can chat GPT it and send it to you in a PPT in less than 3 minutes, which you, as a person in this generation, will not even imagine. We'll still go back to Google, probably. So that connecting with people for leaders, to me, is something that won't be disrupted. It is the essence of what will actually allow us to build with AI as just another productivity or innovation tool. Next slide. So the question eventually becomes about bridging the gap between people and business priorities. How do my business priorities and my team and my people's priorities come together? And again, the answer is simple and stares us in the face. It's about understanding our people better. We heard in the ZS discussion about what happens when the Gen Z comes through the doors. What are they looking at? Gaurav spoke about the kind of words you use with them, the kind of language you use with them. All of that is about understanding our people. If I come into this room and do not understand my audience, like somebody said, you're not going to be in the same wavelength and you will discard it, right? So, therefore, it is necessary to create a framework, in my recommendation, which promotes coaching all ends up. And what do I mean by that? Next slide. Everybody in the corporate world is motivated by becoming the next level, by wanting to be a senior leader. What is the organizational framework that promotes this developmental journey? Now, obviously, there's some other factors as well that you would see in the slide that talk about your journey from starting as an individual contributor as you get to middle management and senior management. But one thing that is clear is one has to develop a solid emotional quotient in this world that we just described, in this world where you have to understand people, you have to be aware, and I'll talk a little bit about that in a minute. I hope this room agrees that without that emotional quotient, you cannot make the journey. Now let's again go back and reflect. In how many of our organizations would we have challenged the top performer, the person in sales who's beating their quota, the person in operations that is leading the 5,000 people unit, the person who's critical to a business but does not possess EQ, and his name is or her name is up for promotion? How many of us would then challenge that and say, person might be great as a contributor, but is not fit to be a leader for the future, is not fit to create the legacy of the organization, because the higher the person goes, the more damage they will do if they haven't figured out the how, right? So I recommend, as a tactical thing, that we start reprioritizing and increasing the allocation of coaching time for our teams and even peers, right? It is about just in your day-to-day, if you're a people leader, if you're a manager, asking the question, how much time is being spent in coaching conversations? Somebody spoke about coaching conversations. What percentage of your time? It's okay if you start with 10%. Is there any dedicated time? Is it a Bible that you must have that time dedicated where you have that conversation? And let me again make it very simple. My humble experience, whatever I can put on to whatever success I got, having that honest conversation. Somebody said can happen in 10 minutes. It doesn't even need a verbal 10 minutes. It could just happen body language wise. How do you react to people? What's going on inside you, right? Those are the questions to ask, because let me tell you, like in any other generation, people who are reporting to you, they see you much more than you think they see you. They know you much more than you think they know you. Like somebody said, when you're in the public space, leadership is public space, you are being watched. You go to the floor, there are 80 eyes watching you. So do not think you can fool them by having that plastic smile on your face. If you don't feel like smiling, do not make eye contact. Don't walk the floor. Take a minute, gather yourself. If you're going to make the connect, doesn't even need a conversation. It needs the attitude. So people say, but what's in it for me? Why should I be doing these conversations? Why should I be prioritizing? There is so much of productive work to be done. Why? What do I gain? Right? The famous WIFM. So next slide. I've tried to summarize it in 4 things, which I believe in my 30 years have been great pillars that coaching has brought to me personally, and I think organizations have benefited. I've seen tremendous change. First, self-awareness. It all starts with you being aware of how your emotions influence your thoughts and behavior. It's a given. We'll be foolish to believe that, no, our conscious mind is able to create the partition. I may have had I may have had a war at home, but when I come to office, I'll be my smiling, natural, caring individual. It doesn't happen. So Making aware that you know your emotional state is the starting point. One of the big benefits of doing that coaching conversation. Social awareness, making sure that you are sensitive to others' perspectives and emotions as well. It isn't just about you. They may have had a bigger fight than you. Are you socially aware? Can you read a room, as they say, right? Then, if you can do these two things, you will be able to do your self-management, right? There are people who think they're very good at controlling their emotions. They're very good at being what we call in the coaching parlance containers, right? And that is self-management because they're self-aware and they're socially aware, right? And the last part is if you do all of these three right, you will definitely have strong relationship management. And that is what I think it takes to build and maintain positive relationships. That goes back to all of these discussions that we had around the emotional quotient. Now, a lot of my senior colleagues in the industry, people I meet, fellow CEOs, they tell me, Anupam, all this is great. You went through the certification, you become a soft guy. Now, I started my career earlier on with Bank of America in sales. I was been with General Electric, where it's a dog-eat-dog world. You're pushing to get promoted. They're like, you've gone soft. And this kind of a thing promotes softness in the organization. It does not promote, performance-focused organization. So, partly, there is a balance. And at Cvent, 7 years ago, and in my journey, we tried to create this framework, next slide, which, to me talks of a culture that balances these two aspects. And the two critical aspects in that day-to-day culture for the employee. And I believe one of them is what you see on the x-axis, which is being direct in the way you have conversations, the way you give performance feedback. If somebody is not performing, coaching, no coaching, it is lack of performance, right? You have to be direct in the interest of the person and give them the opportunity to see they're not performing. There's no two way around it. And the other side on the y-axis, I don't know if you can read, is what we coined as I care personally. And I'll unpack that in a couple of minutes. Now, why is this in an x and y axis and why is the vector in the middle? Because in my humble experience, if you go wrong in the balance, it creates anomalies and abnormalities, which is a very, very heavy price to pay. What does it look at? Empathy. There are these really popular managers. Everybody wants to hang out with them. They are the group's, ladlas, right? What are they doing? They are overtly gentle and they find it difficult to directly challenge the team. Definitely, they will bring down the productivity. At some point in time, it will cost the organization to have a leader like that. Second category, what I call insincere leaders. They just don't care. They're not really worried about the team, how well they're going to do. They're just worried about doing their day job and going home. So again, if this balance is not right, those insincere leaders will not directly challenge the team because they don't care. And the last is on the other side. When you don't have the care element, they are what I call aggressive leaders who put a disproportionate, exaggerated challenge to their teams, and that crushes them because your goal is to build, not to break. So the delicate balance between caring personally and challenging directly, in my humble submission, is what drives the individual growth and therefore organizational progress. So I thought it's worth sharing this with you guys. But sometimes we say, look, there's too many models, ICF has their own competencies, organizations have their own competencies. So in my 30 years, I learned to keep things simple, right? The KISS principle. So if you forget everything, and at times when my brain is flooded, I can't figure out what is the right thing to do, you're in a dilemma and you're making decisions, you're in the Bani world, the one thing that I do advocate in today's world is caring personally. And the emphasis here is not on caring. We all understand it's important to care, it's important to demonstrate that. It is the differentiation between standing up as a leader and owning what you control versus what you expect the organization to do. And if I take it in the context that Gaurav was mentioning about society, it's not about what the Prime Minister or the nation will do. It is about what you are prepared to do. Let's focus with that. So that caring personally, to me, is what really builds that culture, and coaching is a part of that. Because, obviously, it reflects and then transcends into, hey, I care enough for you to have this conversation. I care enough for you to help you go on that path. If those fundamentals are missing, somebody coming from the outside or having a team inside, it cannot change the culture. So if we are going to try and change something, and again, I'm telling you, this is not hypothetical. If you really want to build that culture, you have to put your energy, the reward mechanism, creating heroes out of people who are able to demonstrate this out there. Because then people follow role models. Again, think about it. You go to any organization, they'll show you their top 10% talent. Here are the results, here are the scores, here's the 150% target performance. Then you ask them, how are these people doing on being coaches, on building the next level of leadership? How many people has this person mentored to the next promotion? right? We're not even measuring those things. So it's impossible to talk culture if your day-to-day experiences, your organizational mechanisms are not oriented towards this. And it is tough. That's why I said it has to come from the top. So if, and, you know, as I said, if you forget everything else, then to me, coaching unlocks and solidifies this leadership that allows individuals to start with that, hey, I care personally for this. I'm going to step up and do what I control. When we had COVID in our organization, you know, we weren't getting oxygen cylinders, as you know, small story. Our CEO was on a conversation with me just trying to figure out how's India dealing with this. He's based out of Washington. And, you know, he's a fairly well-known, influential person. And I was telling him, look, there's this crazy shortage of oxygen cylinders, you know, and then there are those kits, right? You remember those kits that were used when the cylinder is not there? They gave you that temporary relief. And he said, okay, let me see what I can do. And long story short, spoke to the CEO of Pfizer and sent a personalized shipment of 100, you know, those miniature kits that would have saved at least 300, 400 family lives of sea venters. You know, we had senior leadership manning the 24-hour helpline. Somebody said, hey, I need help with the hospital. And I wanted to take us there because that was a time where humanity, the one that we talk about, the one that we want to see in our kids, was on display as much as there was a challenge. And again, who triumphed? The spirit of humanity, right? So there's a lot of lessons. Human beings are blessed with short memories, otherwise it would be tough. Yet there are a lot of lessons of really great things that happen. It is not a playbook thing. It is a real thing that can happen. So let me close with this very favorite video of mine. But, you know, the one thing before I go to that video, which sort of brings a lot of this home, is that, you know, we often talk about this three aspects about the container, listening and questioning, the three things that I took away from my journey as a coach, that you start with preparing yourself to be a container, and then you listen deeply, and then you ask questions, right? I just wanted to mention one thing which sort of happened inside me as I was going through this journey. A lot of times, the biggest challenge was not following or not, it's not that you didn't know what you had to do. It was about not being able to do this genuinely. And what I figured out is that the person sitting across the table gets it immediately. So you would rather not do the session, you would rather not go down that path than be insincere. Because these, again, remember, the world we live in, you heard the ICF Vice President, AI first coaching, knowledge is not going to be an issue. Whatever Gaurav gave us as the Ericsson, you know, books, you can throw them away. All of that is going to be, you don't have to literally throw them away, but all of that is going to be available to you at a click. What is not going to be available are some of these internal wiring concepts. So I just wanted to let you know, because all of us talk a lot about this, but I promise you, somebody who's sitting across the table, I promise you, especially Gaurav said kids, their brain shuts off in 30 seconds. You don't believe me? Go home, try an insincere conversation, and ask the child to repeat what you said. They would be blank. It's programmed in us. Okay, so, you know, you're going to do that, what I call CLQ, make sure that your how is very, very self-aware. You know what's going on inside you. Okay, let's go to the video because I know we are running late. So, where's the video? Can you play the video, please? Just see if they can play the video, the last slide.
Actually, they don't have the video.
Okay, they don't have that. All right, that's fair. So we don't have the video, so that's helpful because it saves me time. But basically, I just would then wrap up with this one wish. First of all, a lot of gratitude for everyone who shared their journeys. Personally, for me, on a lighter note, when I was hearing Vivek Shresthaji, I felt my leadership challenges have been nothing. Dunya mein kitna gam hai, mera gam kitna gam hai. Imagine there are people dying and you have to prioritize where to send the JCB versus saying ki mere office ka AC theek cooling nahi kar raha hai. You know, imagine. So I just felt that it was mind-blowing. Gaurav, thank you for getting such a diverse experience in the room. You know, I don't want to go into a lot of detail, but I just flew Air India last night internationally. Great experience. I'm an ICISI Lombard customer. Again, very, very thrilled and glad that it is in safe hands. But I really wish each one of you here a joyful journey. But I'll add a little caveat. I wish you a joyful journey of moments. Let me repeat that. I wish you a joyful journey of moments, because the graveyard is full of people who thought they had a lot of time. Thank you so much. Have a great evening.
So before you leave the stage, I would like to share here, quite a few of my students had once upon a time, and often I would say regret, that they couldn't get through C-Event. I can now understand the reason for the potential leadership that you showcase there. Such energy on the stage definitely deserves a louder round of applause, please. Thank you for unfolding your personal journey here and making us move to understand the competency mapping and moving that fragility to agility maps, and to understand in the age of AI, EI is exactly what is going to hold each one of us significant. In order to celebrate the panic to purpose movement and celebrating the fast failures and experiments, may I please call upon GP Rao sir to please felicitate our honorable speaker for the day. That's Anupam Arun sir, country head C-Event. Can we have a huge round of applause, please? Thank you once again, sir. Well, this evening had been memorable. I would like to share here the World Economic Forum report says resilience, adaptability is significant once combined with agility. The mentor, as recognized by the audience and the orchestrator of the mega events, I would like Mr. Gaurav Arora, sir. May I request Samuel, sir, to please felicitate our honorable event leader on the stage, that's GP Rao, sir. I would say you are the man behind the curtain, of course. You've been sharing and orchestrating the entire minute-to-minute map of the event. Can we have a huge round of applause for sir, please? Well, as we all know that pictures are not objects but permanent memoirs, when captured right. We thank and felicitate our media partner of the event, that's Indian Conventions, who are taglined as Power of Togetherness, for making the event go through online and making us visible, those invisible connections, those Wi-Fi. May I please call upon Gaurav sir to felicitate our host of the event, our host for the day, to please honor Tali sir, who's made this invisible connection really visible on LinkedIn. Can we have a huge round of applause, please? Well, let me tell you, for most of you who do not know, and to dismantle the pyramid of ignorance, that this event is being captured and viewed online on LinkedIn. Well, being actively watched, it is most appreciated. I, Dr. Jyoti Ukreja, on behalf of the August gathering here, would like to thank Ericsson Consulting International and xMonks, a journey into Shunya and expand further. And not only them, but our partners, that's Clutterbug, Coaching Global and Mentoring International, the best practices and local expertise, and combined with them, the Inquest of Life. Thank you all for making this event and making us all here rich by the pearls of wisdom shared by all the dignitaries here. May I please call upon the August gathering and all the esteemed dignitaries on the stage for a group picture.
I would like to say thank you to each one of you. A special mention to Indian Conventions. Also, I would like to share they are our media partners, and they are doing Indian HR Convention 2025 in July. IC HR Under 40 Awards and IC HR Leaders of the India Award by Indian Conventions. We will share the details with you. And Riti, thank you so much. I would like to thank my entire team, and may I request everyone to please be on the stage for a group photograph. My team is not here. I would like to thank all my team members for helping me organize this, for helping us organize this. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you. The dinner is open for all of us. Dinner is open.
Thank you.
Dinner bar is open.
Very well done.